Previously on You Can Beat Video Games. In the first part of this guide, we learned how to avoid monster encounters completely. We assembled our party, leveled up a bit, then we defeated the first boss in the town of Lianport. Now we have the ship, and as part 2 begins, it's finally time to explore the seas. Let's get started. Once we have the ship, the entire game opens up to us. There are monsters that we can fight at sea, and there are different monster sets depending on where you are in the ocean. A single man-o'-war, not very dangerous, but at the levels we currently have, some of these sea monsters could be dangerous if we have to fight them in a large group. The most dangerous sea monsters in the game are located out in the deep ocean, so by staying close to the land, we can minimize our encounters with the more vicious beasts. Before we move on to things that we have to do, let's stop over here in the North Midenhall Monolith. This guy has a few clues for us about the Eye of Malroth. We certainly don't have the Eye of Malroth, and it seems that we'll need something called the Moon Fragment to get it, but if we lie and say that we do have the Eye, well, it seems that we can use that to open a path to Rhone, and Rhone is the name of the region where the game's final castle is, so we are going to need to go there, and that's the one place that we can't get to with our ship. The old man does not have any information about who this Malroth guy is, and what happened to his eye that it's missing from his body. In any case, if you're going across the sea and you encounter these sea slugs, these are some of the more dangerous enemies in the standard ocean set. They can hit you in such a way that they'll deal damage and make the character that got damaged fall asleep, so that's pretty bad. And they can also do a sleep sweet breath attack. So between those two things, the sea slugs aren't that hard to kill, but they could make your party fall asleep, and then you'll be vulnerable to all kinds of attacks. Right now we're following across the top of the main continent where Midenhall is, and when you get past that desert, this is where you want to turn and go straight up, and if you follow this path, you're going to run right into a small island, and on that island is a strange tree. If you search on the tree, you'll find a very useful item, the Leaf of the World Tree. And it looks like we also encountered some monsters. Goopies can call other goopies to join the battle, so those guys can be kind of dangerous. We definitely need to prioritize that evil tree though. The evil tree can do several dangerous moves, including casting Stop Spell against our characters, and dancing a jig. Now, I have no idea how a tree can dance a jig. It's something I would like to see, but that makes your characters lose magic points, and losing magic points is pretty obnoxious. We don't have a lot of MP to lose right now. The good news is that if any of our characters die right here, we're right next to the World Tree, and whenever you use the Leaf of the World Tree, you'll be able to find another one right in that same spot. So you can only have one in your inventory at a time, but you can use as many Leaf of the World Trees as you want. You can just only hold one at once. So if anybody dies, make sure to use the leaf and then stop back at the tree. Whenever you use the Leaf of the World Tree, the character that gets revived comes back with 1 HP, so you're going to be needing to heal them right away. Once again, we're fighting some of these goopies. Goopies often call for help, and then there will be more goopies that we have to fight. If you fight a large quantity of enemies, you do get bonus experience points. It's about a 10% bonus for each enemy beyond the first. So when you fight a ton of monsters, that can give you a ton of experience points, but it is a risk. The next thing that we need to do, we're going to head back down here. That's that continent where Midenhall is. And we want to follow along the top of the continent over here to the right. Right below us is the Spring of Bravery, and we're looking for these 2 small islands. Right here is where you want to head up. Now, these are some dangerous seas, and the vampirus enemies are probably the most dangerous enemies that we may have to fight here, so if you see multiple vampirus, I recommend trying to run away. Running away has a 66% chance to succeed, so it hardly ever takes more than 3 runs to get away from a battle, and whenever you successfully run away, you avoid taking any damage in that round, which is awesome, so don't be afraid to run away if the odds look bad. On this small island is the town of Zahan, and this is a very important town. A lot of the people here have more clues about that moon fragment. Apparently we need it to get into some kind of undersea cave. That's something that we're going to be doing later in the video. But for now, we can talk to the people, and the other thing that you're going to see is that a lot of them talk about dogs. Earlier in the game, we met a dog that actually turned into the 3rd member of our party, the Princess of Moonbrooke, and once again, dogs are going to be very important here. That woman is a man named Torval's wife, and we're going to hear some clues from people in later towns that tell us that Torval is the one that has the golden key. The golden key is a very important item that we're going to need to be able to open those brown doors. So we're going to want to get that, and we're going to be able to find it right here in this very town. This is one of my favorite pieces of dialogue. We're going to find a shipwreck later on in the game called the Relentless, but apparently the ship sunk because the pirates left the plug out. Yeah, that's pretty great. After staying at the inn, we're not going to go into those barriers right now. That is very dangerous and will probably die. But if we talk to this dog, he heads over here and he looks at this tree. If we search right in this spot, that's where the golden key is. So the golden key is a very critical item, don't miss it. Eventually we'll get a spell that will replace the golden key, but for now, we're going to be able to use it to open a lot of very important doors, and we're going to need it to be able to get the next key, the Jailor's key. While you're here, I recommend picking up a fairy water, and if you have enough money, try to get a Dragon's Bane for as many of your characters as you can. We're about to do a trick to get a whole bunch of money, but to do it we need a lot of empty inventory space, so sell off any items that you don't need. Also, make sure to use the Dragon's Bane to equip it. Dragon's Bane will make any character that has it equipped less vulnerable to sleep or stop spell. If we go onto this small island, we'll find a travel door that takes us back to Midenhall Castle. Remember that travel door from the beginning of the game? Well, there it is. Certainly we could have sailed our ship all the way back here, but this is a bit of a shortcut. We didn't have the silver key the last time we were here, so let's pop into some of these doors and see what these people have to say. This guy tells us about the Dragon's Bane item. Yeah, we were just talking about that. If we head over here, the next thing that we should do is talk to the king and save the game. By saving the game, we're going to set a new return point, so whenever we use a Wing of the Wyvern or the return spell, we're going to come back here to Midenhall Castle. That's kind of important because we left our ship back at that Monolith near the town of Zahan, but if we use the return spell, it will bring the ship to us. We're definitely going to be coming back here, and before we leave, let's throw on that fairy water that we bought back in the town of Zahan. With the fairy water, we won't encounter any stupid slimes or whatever that we would have to face here that are just going to waste our time and not be worth a lot of experience points, and we can just walk right here in the hills and not worry about the higher encounter rate. We're trying to get to this monolith. We have the gold key so we can open up the door here, and behind this door there's a travel door that's going to take us to the castle of Osterfair. We could have sailed to Osterfair, but it's much easier to get to the castle this way. By using that golden key we just found, we're going to be able to sneak into this merchant's shop and rob him. Yeah, we gotta do some crimes every now and again to be able to save the world. There's two things that we'll find here, the Armor of Gaia, which is a very good armor for this point in the game, and also a magic knife. The Armor of Gaia is a unique armor that we can only hold one of in our inventory, but the magic knife is not unique at all. If we go back into the travel door and then head back to Osterfair Castle, the treasure chests will respawn and we'll be able to collect the magic knife again. This guy says, do not enter this place. Sorry dude, we already did. We can just keep repeating this over and over again until we have a whole inventory filled with magic knives, and then we'll just cast our return spell to go back to Midenhall Castle. Here we can go to the item vendor, and we can sell those magic knives for 150 gold pieces each, which is pretty good. We should be able to pull in a couple thousand gold by doing this. We need to get this money because while the golden key was free, the Jailor's key cost 2,000 gold pieces. So yeah, we're going to need 2,000 gold pieces to be able to buy that very important item, and once we have the Jailor's key, then we're going to be able to do a trick that will allow us to get way more money. But for now, let's head over here and collect some of the treasure chests that we weren't able to pick up the first time we went to Midenhall Castle. We have the golden key now, so we can head down here. We'll just grab this. This is probably the most important of the chests. That's the token of Erdrick, and we're going to be able to trade that for Erdrick's helmet, which is one of the best helmets in the game. We can also find a small bit of money, a wing of the wyvern, and a medical herb. And when we talk to this guy, yeah, he says that we're a thief and then realizes who he's talking to. Yeah, we're the prince of this place. These treasures, they belong to us. There was another door over here that we can use the silver key to unlock. Behind this door is where the castle prison is. And unfortunately, we don't have the Jailor key right now, so we're not going to be able to get much farther into the castle prison without it. So for now, we're going to turn around, but remember where that room is. We're going to be coming back there later. One thing that you need to remember about this game is that treasure chests respawn, and that goes for ones in both towns and dungeons. Which means that now that we have the golden key, if you ever need a spare wing of the wyvern, medical herb, or just a little bit of money, you can hit up the treasure chests here in Midenhall and pick up any of those things for free. Once you're happy with the amount of money and treasure that you have, you can use your silver key on this door and we can easily exit the castle through the side. The next thing that we're going to do is optional, but this is a very easy side quest and it's certainly worth doing. We're going to make a quick pit stop in the Castle of Cannock. In addition to trying to find all of the keys that we need, we're also looking for the Erdrick items. These are going to be some of the best weapons and armor in the entire game, and the sooner that we can get them, the more powerful we're going to be. The next one that we're looking for is in Tantegel Castle, so that's why we're headed there. You may remember from part 1, the last time we were in Tantegel Castle, there is a door that we weren't able to open because we didn't have the golden key, and behind that door there's a treasure chest. Well, inside that treasure chest is where we're going to find Erdrick's shield, and the only shield in the game that has a higher defense value than Erdrick's shield is cursed, so we're not going to be able to get the same amount of use out of that as we will out of this item. So once you're in Tantegel Castle, you want to head up here, and there is that golden key door. There's also an old man that's been hanging out back there. You gotta wonder how long this guy's been sitting there, but all he has to say is, well, don't just stand there, open the treasure chest. Yeah, thanks for the tip, old man. And inside, we find the Shield of Erdrick. Make sure to equip that thing. Plus 20 defense is great, but unlike some of the really good pieces of armor in this game, it doesn't provide any bonus effects beyond that. Still, we're going to be very happy to have Erdrick's shield, and if you don't have a leather shield for the Prince of Cannock yet, make sure to pass that down to him and equip it as well. Once we have access to the better money trick, we'll be able to get enough cash to be able to buy a much better shield for the Prince of Cannock, but for now, the leather shield will be fine. Once you've done all that, we're going to return back to Midenhall Castle, and we'll stay at the inn to refill our health. Now that we have Erdrick's shield and Erdrick's token, we might as well go and grab Erdrick's helmet. It's not very far away and is pretty easy to get to. It also is a very good piece of armor, so it's worth the trip. We're going to head to the left from Midenhall, so just get in your ship and try to stay close to the land. These sea slugs should be a little bit easier now that we have some better equipment, although they can still do those sleep-related attacks, and if you don't have a Dragon's Bane for each one of your characters, well, they'll still be pretty vulnerable to that. That's not to say that the Dragon's Bane makes you completely safe, but it does reduce your risk significantly. Once you get past that desert area, look for this island, and then head straight down. There's a lot of open ocean here, but if you follow this, you shouldn't have to fight the most dangerous monsters, at least not until we get closer to where we're actually going. Well, there's a lot of monsters here. I think we can handle these guys, but we want to prioritize taking out monsters that we can kill. Don't forget to use some of your magic spells like Infernos that can hit an entire group of monsters. That's going to be very useful here. So we had Artho attack Magidrakes because he's fairly weak, but he is capable of taking out a monster like that. We got rid of the Man-o-War, and now we're trying to pick off the sea slugs, and we'll finish up with the Magidrakes. Those are the least dangerous of the enemies here. Quick Infernos will take them down, and we should get a good bit of experience points for killing so many enemies at once, and we did. At level 8, the princess learns the spell of Repel, and Repel works exactly the same as Fairy Water. The way that it works is it will prevent encounters with any enemies that have less than half of your hero's attack score. That includes weapons, so if you have a more powerful weapon, you'll be able to repel more powerful monsters. Now, if any monster you were going to encounter would have a higher score than that, you'll still encounter the monster, but you'll find that repel is very useful for traveling on the sea, and you'll be able to use it even more frequently later in the game when you get more powerful and when you have a better weapon. So we're just heading south here, and we should run into this rocky bit of land. This is where the World Tree is. So you remember the World Tree from before? If you need to get another leaf of the World Tree, you can stop there, but we're going to head to this monolith. This is the Fire Shrine. There are a bunch of travel doors here that can take us to various locations. The one on the left will take us to a monolith that's north of the city of Lianport. That's the one where part 2 started, right where we got the ship. Not one of the more useful locations to travel to, but it is a place we can go to from here. Another place that we can go to is through the middle travel door, and this one takes us to another shrine that has a bunch of different places that we can travel to, so this branches out into more places we can go, but this particular monolith is right above the town of Beran, and there's some dangerous monsters near that one, so I don't recommend hanging out over there. If we go through the door on the left and open up the golden key door here, you're going to recognize this. This is the tunnel to Hamlin. So interesting that that location is connected there. And if we go through the travel door on the right side, that'll take us to another familiar place. This is the area that takes us to where the dragon horn is. So there's that monolith that connects those two areas with a river between them. That's where this is. You wouldn't even believe that there was a door there. It's hidden in the darkness, but now that we came through from the other side, we know that there's a door and we can use the golden key to get through. And this should bring us back to the Monolith over near the town of Beran, so we'll head through the middle door to return to the Fire Shrine, and the place that we actually want to go to is through the travel door on the right side, which is going to take us to this Monolith near Alefgard. This old man here will trade us the token of Erdrick for Erdrick's helmet, which is awesome. Although the way that this guy acted, he's been sitting here like his entire life waiting for someone to come and give him the token of Erdrick. Is it like the last pog that he needed to complete his set or something? Maybe we should have held out. We should have demanded that he gave us the armor of Erdrick as well. I mean, we have the only token of Erdrick that there is. What's he gonna do? Get one from somebody else? Now back here at the Fire Shrine, if you search in this particular spot, we're going to find a mandatory item, the Sun Crest. Now you may wonder, how would you have ever found that item? There is somebody later in the game that will give us a clue about it, and we're also going to find an item called the Echoing Flute, which would make an echo if a crest is nearby. So those are two ways that you could have found it, aside from just having the instruction manual that came with the game, which tells you straight up where to find that crest. Coming back west from the Fire Monolith, if we stay close to the land, we shouldn't encounter too many dangerous monsters, but you still need to take these ones seriously. That sea slug just got a critical hit on us, which dealt quite a bit of damage, and then it made the Prince of Cannock faint, which makes him fall asleep and takes him out of combat. So yeah, even a not so dangerous monster like a sea slug could cause a serious disaster if you don't take it seriously. And up here, we'll find the town of Wellgarth. This guy doesn't know where everybody is and wonders if, maybe it's his breath. And here's another one of our dog friends. Yip, yip, yip. You'll need the golden key to get in here, so we'll use that. Inside here is where we're going to find the Jailor's key, so it seems that the people that designed the game wanted to gate that using the golden key to make sure that we got the golden key first. And I like if you talk to this woman, she changes the music, so that's pretty cool. And up here we find a very good weapon and armor shop where we can buy items like the light sword and the shield of strength. So we'll definitely be coming back here whenever we have more money. This guy has a lead on the Jailor's key. He says that he heard it was sold here, but perhaps it's a lie. Oh, it's not a lie. The Jailor's key is definitely sold here, but not at this particular vendor. If we come down here, this is just one of the lottery slot machines. You might be better off just selling your lottery tickets to the item store though and getting the 53 gold pieces. Down here at the inn, if we unlock this door, well, this woman is very upset that we would unlock her private room at the inn, and yeah, she's probably right to feel that way. If we talk to this guy over here, he claims that Hargon is some kind of master of disguise. Well, that's scary. He could be anyone in this town. We need to find some kind of Charm of Rubiss to be able to see through that deception. Now, this is the important store that we were looking for. There's a mysterious blank space here, and if we purchase it, it costs 2,000 gold pieces, but that's the Jailor's key. So we'll definitely want to get that. That's what we're going to need to use to open up prison doors. There's a lot of those in this game, so the Jailor's key is very useful. This guy tells us about an item called the Water Flying Cloth, and to get that, we need to meet someone named Dawn Mahoney in the town of Tuhn. We'll definitely be doing that later, but for now, since we have the Jailor's key, there's another very important item that we can get here in the town of Wellgarth, the fourth and final key, the Watergate key. The Watergate key is one of the more difficult to find items in the game. It was stolen by a thief named Rogue Fastfinger, and if you talk to people in various towns, you will hear more about Rogue Fastfinger, and we're going to be talking to these people. This guy says that he actually locked Rogue Fastfinger in a prison cell, but he already escaped. How did he do that? Well, maybe Rogue Fastfinger didn't escape, and he's actually hiding in a cell right now. Maybe he's this old man in disguise. No, he's not. He's actually over in the cell on the right side. If you use the Jailor's key, it'll open up both jail doors, and if you talk to this dark space in the upper right corner, that's where Rogue Fastfinger is hiding, and he'll give you the Watergate key. You might be able to use the Watergate key to be able to find out a conspiracy involving President Richard Nixon, or you can just use it in the town of Tuhn to open up the way to the Moon Tower. You're definitely going to need it. The open spell will not replace the Watergate key, so this is a mandatory item. If you have any leftover money, you may want to grab some Dragon's Banes. Make sure that you get the Jailor's key first, that's the most important thing to buy here, but we do eventually want to have one Dragon's Bane for each one of our characters. Once you have the 2 keys, you can return back to Midenhall Castle, and we're going to stay at the inn because the next thing that we're about to do is a very optional side quest. You may remember from the beginning of part 1 that the world of Alefgard from the original Dragon Warrior game is contained in a small part of this game, and we're going to head over there next. Nothing that you find over there is mandatory, and the best thing that we're going to get is Erdrick's sword, which is definitely not the best weapon in the game, but is a fairly decent one for this part of the game. Admittedly, we're a bit under-leveled for the next dungeon, but there's a good reason to go there now. Fighting those monsters is going to be good for getting experience points, and if we don't get Erdrick's sword now, by the time we come back to get it later, we're not even going to want it anymore. So if we don't go and get it now, it's mostly going to be pointless. To get over to the Alefgard area, we're going to go through that river that goes by the 2 Dragon's Horn towers. And since we're in the area, we might as well stop at that North Dragon's Horn tower and pick up a useful item, the Dews Yarn. You'll find the Dews Yarn on the 3rd floor, and make sure to count the floors because they all kind of look the same, so it's very easy to end up being on the wrong one. Once you get to the 3rd floor, you just want to keep searching. You don't need to move around or anything. There's a 25% chance to find it, so if you just keep searching in the same spot, you will eventually find it. Sometimes it seems like it's never coming, but it will eventually come. There are enemies in that tower too. We didn't run into any that time, but you could meet a monster encounter. You should be leveled high enough to beat it though. Now here's an interesting sea encounter that includes Medusa balls. I don't think we've seen too much of them yet. Medusa balls can cast a sleep spell, and they can also attack twice when they get their turn. So you'll see that occasionally, like right there, that Medusa ball just attacked 2 times. Pretty annoying. So you want to consider those to be a priority target, but they do have more hit points than a lot of the other monsters at sea, so you may not be able to kill them in one round of combat, which in case means that you need to kill some of the other monsters first, ones that you can pick off easily, just to reduce the number of monster turns, and then you can focus on the Medusa balls. We got a good amount of experience points for fighting all those monsters. And this continent that we're sailing around, this is Alefgard. It might not look too recognizable from the sea, but whenever we get close to Tantegel Castle and Charlock Castle, you'll certainly recognize that area. We're also going to go past where that swamp cave was. The swamp cave is where the princess was kidnapped earlier in the first game. There's not anything good to find in there in this game though, so I don't really recommend going in there. And here are the 2 castles. We'll head over to Tantegel first. It's been 100 years since the last time we visited Tantegel Castle, but it's mostly the same. If we talk to this guy, he'll refill your magic for free. So keep that in mind. It's a good place. You can heal all of your characters up and then get your magic back for doing it. And we can also cast the spell of Repel before we leave town, right next to this guy's little desk. We'll talk to him and we'll be able to get our magic points back. Something that we were able to do in the first game. We can talk to the people here. If we talk to this guy up here, this is the normal House of Healing, but this guy in the back, he can actually save our game. Keep in mind that if you save your game here, you're going to be creating a new return point, and it may actually be better to keep the return point back in Midenhall Castle, but we'll save here just so that you can see how that works. If we talk to this guy, he tells us about a vision he had, and then he says, "You're welcome." And we also found out that Princess Gwaelin departed a long time ago, although she would most definitely be dead by now. When we head up to the King's Chamber, we find out that the King is hiding somewhere. Well, he's hiding here in town, and one thing about Tantegel Castle now is that it's kind of merged with the town of Tantegel. So instead of being two separate places, now they're sort of all rolled into one. So that's a bit new. You may remember this guy. If you're ever afflicted by a curse, he will cure it for free. Not a very convenient place to come though to get your curse removed. By the time that we're going to be using any cursed items, we can probably just afford to have them removed at a House of Healing. This woman tells us about the Dews Yarn, and that's that item we just found over in the North Dragon's Horn Tower. You'll need that to be able to make the water flying cloth, but we still need the magic loom as well, and we don't have that just yet. If we go up this stairway next to the weapons and armor store, the weapons and armor store here is pretty unremarkable. This is where the King is hiding out. You know, it seems that in times of trouble, some people rise to the occasion and become heroes, and other people, like the King here, well, they cower in a little room. His hope has fled long ago. Times are bad here in Alefgard. This is not good. We certainly need to take out this Hargon guy and really fix up the world. Over here we can sell some items that we don't need. We are going to be going into a dungeon where we'll find some more items, so you don't want to run out of inventory space. Inventory space is going to start getting tight at this point in the game, and it's only going to get tighter as we move forward. So the amount of items that we're able to hold is not going to change. That means that we're just going to have to deal with it and be mindful of strategies that will help us reduce unnecessary inventory. As far as consumable items go, the only one that we really need to carry at this point is the Leaf of the World tree. Beyond that, medical herbs, antidote herbs, Wing of the Wyvern, fairy water, all of those things have been replaced with spells, so we don't need to waste inventory on them. Before we leave, we are going to head back to the guy that can refill our magic power and cast the repel spell, since it will be free if we talk to him right afterwards. If you'd like to level up in this area, you could level up right around this castle, and if you need to refill your magic, well, you can just pop back in here and do it for free, so that's not a bad idea. And it would be nice for the Prince of Cannock to have level 12 for this dungeon, because that's when he'll get the outside spell. But for now, let's dive into Charlock Castle, the home of the Dragon Lord. Now, if you run into multiple Gorgons, Gorgons are way too dangerous for you to fight at these levels, especially when there's multiples. If you see just one Gorgon, you can fight just one Gorgon. You may be able to fight two Gorgons, but multiple Gorgons with another enemy, that's going to be bad. The Gorgons have very high defense, and they're constantly casting the spell of Increase, which raises their defense, and we don't have our own defense spell, which would reduce their defense yet. So without that, we're not going to be able to deal a lot of damage to Gorgons, and although we may be able to beat them, fights against them are going to drag out for a long time and just aren't worth it. These dragonflies do a fire breath attack, but we should be able to kill them in just 1 or 2 rounds of combat, so they are probably worth fighting. And it seems that Kylo has leveled up. So now we have level 13. And we should make sure to keep our characters healed up. We do need to be a bit conservative with our magic points because we're going into a longer dungeon here, so we may encounter a lot of monsters. We do want to make sure our health is high though, so that we don't get cleaned out in any single encounter. Of course, it takes turns to use healing magic in battle, so it's a lot better to just use your healing magic outside of battle. 2 saber tigers is something that we could fight. These guys only use physical attacks. One thing that is dangerous about the saber tigers is that they have an abnormally high critical hit chance, and a critical hit will ignore your defense and could cause serious damage to one of your characters, so be careful if you encounter large groups of enemies that include saber tigers. Here on floor 3, we want to head to the upper right corner, and this encounter looks to be way too many monsters, especially with a Gorgon in the mix, so we're going to run away from that. Following the map, you just want to follow the alphabet. Go A, then B, then C, then D. If you go that way, that will lead you to the Sword of Erdrick. 2 Gorgons, pretty dangerous. Here they go, casting Increase. They don't do a lot of offense, so it's not that dangerous to run away from them. If you don't get away, and you're just fighting against Gorgons, not Gorgons paired up with other things, then they'll probably just cast their Increase spells, and you can just try to run away again. Once you're on this inside track, you're going the right way to get the sword. So just go through these small rooms, and that will take you to this tiny square in the middle of floor 2, and that's where the Sword of Erdrick is. It gives you a very strong plus 40 attack, but it won't be long from now that we'll be able to find a sword that's significantly better. While the sword is the most important thing for us to find in here, it's not the only point of interest in this dungeon. If we go all the way down to the bottom, we'll be able to meet with the Dragon Lord's grandson, and we can talk to him and see what he has to say. If you'd like to meet the Dragon Lord's grandson, you'll want to follow this path. So in this room, we're going to take this stairway down, and then we're going to go through this long and skinny room. 3 mummy men is something that we might be able to fight, and it's nice that they're all grouped together so that we can use the spell of Infernos to hit all 3 of them at once. Our hero is dealing significant damage, and combined with the Inferno spell, should be able to take out at least 1 mummy man per round. Looks like the Prince of Cannock is getting powerful enough to help out as well. It would be nice if we had his best weapon, the Iron Spear, but we will be getting that shortly if you don't have it already. Make sure to heal up between battles, and we're just going to follow this room down, around, and to the left. This dungeon should look familiar if you played the original Dragon Warrior, although some of the rooms are a bit backwards. When we get into the next room, we're just going to go straight across, and that's going to take us to the 7th floor basement, and once you get in here, there's no monsters to fight on this floor, so you don't have to worry about that. There's not like red dragons that are going to pop up and murder you, but there is this floor barrier. There's 2 spots in the middle that are safe, but make sure to heal your people if they take damage from the floor barriers and ever get below 15 health. Actually, below 16 health. The floor barriers will hit you for 15 damage for each step that you stand on them, and they are not afraid to kill your characters. So it's not like it'll just take them down to 1 hit point. No, the barrier will kill your guys all the way. This treasure room on the other side, though, is a little bit disappointing. It's not that much better than the one in Midenhall Castle. So grab this stuff if you want it. There's a Wing of the Wyvern, a little bit of money, a lottery ticket, and I believe a medical herb is the last thing. Yep, a good old medical herb. You may need to just use that medical herb right away, otherwise you're probably going to toss it. So it's not the worst thing to do if you want to keep your inventory space low. If you're doing fine on health, well, you can just save it and sell it at the next town. But once you get past these barriers, we're going to go all the way around to the right side and follow the path to the bottom. You can see the Dragon Lord's grandson down there. He's that purple guy on the throne. It's a little bit of a shame that this part is optional. This is a very flavorful part of the game, and I don't see why the developers couldn't have hid a more important item down here instead of in some of the other places where they hid items. But that's neither here nor there. Watch out for the swamp tiles that deal just a small amount of damage, and if we come down here and talk to the Dragon Lord, he has some interesting stuff to say. It turns out that the new Dragon Lord doesn't like Hargon very much and has a good clue for us. Once we have the 5 crests, we can find the wizard Rubiss somewhere in the sea south of Midenhall. And if you tell him no, well then he says, "Thou art surely missing thy brain." Some great dialogue here. And that's the last thing that we needed to do here in Charlock Castle, but because the Prince of Cannock hasn't reached level 12 yet, we're at level 11, we're close. We don't have the outside spell yet, so we can't instantly leave this dungeon, which means we're walking out of here. That's okay though, we could probably use to fight a few more battles, and if we do get killed on the way out of here, we're just going to lose some money, so it's not that big of a deal. We already bought the Jailor key, and we're going to have access to a lot of money very soon. So just head back out the same way that you came. If you run into multiple Gorgons, just run away. If you run into a few enemies that aren't Gorgons, you may be able to fight something like this, just 1 Gorgon and 2 mummy men. Make sure that you try to get that Gorgon out of the way. And that's all there was to Charlock Castle. Outside of the castle, there's an interesting set of enemies. Here we can fight a magic baboon and a bunch of magic drakies. You may be surprised to find out that the magic baboon doesn't use magic attacks at all. In fact, the only thing that a magic baboon does is attack or call for help, and if you're way more powerful, it might even run away. But just physical attacks or call more baboons into the game, those are the only 2 things that a magic baboon can do. Back here at the castle, we can sell off some junk that we found in the bottom of Charlock Castle. We don't need to be carrying around any of that stuff in our inventory, so we'll dump it. And if you have the money, you may want to pick up the Wizard's Wand weapon that you can buy in the weapon shop up here. That's a decent item that the Princess of Moonbrooke can use, and if you use it as an item in battle, it will give you a free casting of the Fireball spell against any monster that you want. So that's a good way to get a magic effect in battle without wasting your magic points. The Wizard Wand also hits a little bit harder as a melee weapon than the magic knife that she was using before. So if you ever have to have her attack in battle, well, at least she'll do a little bit more damage, but for the most part, once you have the Wizard Wand, if she's going to do an attack in battle, you might as well just have her use that as an item, unless the enemy that you're fighting against is very resistant to damage magic. We'll take advantage of the magic refill guy down here, use a bunch of healing magic. We can also use the repel spell, which will be nice since we're going to be going out into sea. And we got a more powerful weapon now, so we should repel a little bit stronger monsters than we were able to repel previously. Peace be with thee, the guy says. Well, and also with you, my man. And we'll head out here, get back into our ship, and it's time to make our way back to Castle Midenhall. If you look around the Alefgard map, you'll notice that a lot of the notable locations from the original game are there, like some of this region near where you walk to the city of Cantlin. Although the city of Cantlin isn't there, a lot of the features in the landscape are. We're just making our way back to where those dragon's horn towers are. We're going to cut across this little inlet, which will take us back into the main sea, and from there we're just going to head west. And once we see the land on the other side, we're going to follow it down to the south around the cape where that South Midenhall Monolith is, and then we'll go back up to the north where we will reach the castle. So we're just going to follow to the south here. If we meet any monsters, we should be able to fight them much easier now than we were before since we have the Sword of Erdrick. And it looks like we're going to be put to the test. This is one of the more dangerous encounters you could possibly have in this region of the sea. We'll have our hero attack the Medusa Ball. That's probably the biggest threat, followed by the sea slugs. We had the Princess of Moonbrooke use her Infernos magic on the sea slugs, but it only hit one of them. I mean, that's something that happens. They do have a little bit of resistance to damage magic. We shouldn't worry about wasting our magic points here since we're just making our way back to the Castle of Midenhall. The inn is only 12 gold pieces there, so it's practically free. So go all out against any monsters that you see. And we'll try out that wizard wand since we haven't used it yet. See if we can see what that does. And you'll see it's just like the fireball spell. Probably a lot better than the princess would do just attacking in a melee combat sense. And it seems that Artho has reached level 12. Would have been nice to have reached level 12 and got the outside spell before, but hey, better late than never. Now that whole Alefgard quest was completely optional, so feel free to skip that if you don't want to do it or you don't have any nostalgia for the first game and would want to explore some of that extra content that the developers put in for those original fans. What we need to do next is get back to Midenhall Castle, and we're going to pick up on doing that money-making trick. This is a trick that you're able to do anytime after you have the Jailor key, although it's a good idea to get some better weapons and armor because we will have to fight a minor boss to get that cash. That boss that we need to fight is the evil clown that's being held in the prison underneath Midenhall Castle. In the United States, you can legally listen to whatever kind of music you want, but in the world of Dragon Warrior 2, being a juggalo is a Class A felony, and it's such a serious crime that when you're just awaiting trial, they put you in a cell behind 2 different doors and floor barriers that can kill you. Before we head down there and fight the clown, we can talk to this criminal. He tells us that the Crest of Life is in the cave that leads to Rhone. The Life Crest is probably one of the harder ones to find, so it is good that that clue exists. Be careful crossing these barriers. We don't have the spell of Step Guard yet, so you don't want your characters to die before they have to fight the boss in here. Also, once all of them get off of the barrier, make sure to heal everybody up. We should have plenty of MP to work with, we just stayed at the inn recently. So use your healing magic, make sure everybody is healed up before you talk to this guy. Once you talk to this guy, he calls us a fool for unlocking the doors which would allow him to escape. But there will be no escape for this guy. As far as clown crimes are concerned, we're the judge, jury, and executioner. Evil clowns have a number of magical attacks that they can use against us, but the most important thing is that they only have a 29% resistance to the sleep spell, so just make sure that the Princess of Moonbrooke casts sleep whenever this guy is awake, and you should have no problem defeating this guy. Once the evil clown is defeated, there will always be a treasure chest, and inside is the Staff of Thunder. The Staff of Thunder is an awesome weapon, and is the most powerful weapon that the Princess of Moonbrooke can equip. Not only does it add plus 15 to her attack, but when used as an item in battle, it has a similar effect to her Infernos magic. So it's very good, especially considering that you don't need to use any MP for that. Unfortunately, you can only have one Staff of Thunder in your inventory or you won't be able to find another one, but you could sell it to one of the vendors here in Midenhall Castle for 19,500 gold pieces. That's right. With the Staff of Thunder, our money problems are over. The best part about all of this is that if you save and reload the game, any bosses that you killed will come back. Now, normally if you kill a boss, that boss will stay dead until you would save and reload, and this is something that really matters towards the end of the game when you have to fight a whole bunch of bosses in the final castle. So what we're going to do here is save the game with the king, reload, and when we come back here in Midenhall Castle, we'll be able to go back down to the prison cell and fight the evil clown again, and we'll be able to get another Staff of Thunder. Don't forget to sell off your Staff of Thunder, or whenever you fight the clown, you'll just get a chest that contains a small amount of gold. And now is a good time to show off another trick. You can see that Artho is equipped with the Staff of Thunder, and whenever we sell it to the vendor, he actually keeps that plus 15 attack as long as we don't go into the equip screen, don't reload the game, and he doesn't level up. So this is a good time to use that, because we can't keep the Staff of Thunder right now, but we still might want him to attack as though he had it. He won't be able to use it as an item to get that Infernos type effect, but what do you expect? This trick will also work if you equip a weapon and then trade it to another character, assuming that you don't go into the equip screen at any time after you make the trade. There's not a lot you can do with that early on in the game, but now that we're finding weapons that can be used as items in battle, there are some good applications of this trick. So now we're going to fight the evil clown again, and I recommend fighting this clown 3 or 4 times. We're going to want to have over 60,000 gold pieces, and we're going to want to keep one of the Staff of Thunders. So make sure that after you sell the last one for money, you go back and fight the clown an additional time so that you can keep one to use as a weapon. This is a weapon we're going to be using all the way into the late game, so don't miss out on the Staff of Thunder. Sell it for as much money as you need, but make sure to get another one to use. You can also use the Spell of Return right here in this room if you want, so that you don't have to go back through the barrier each time. Because of how easy it is to kill the evil clowns and sell off Staff of Thunders, at any time now in the game, if you need money, you can come back here and just do this again and again, so you don't have to worry about money anymore. If you get killed and you don't want to reset the game, well, you don't have to worry so much that you lost half of your money, because money is easy to come by. In a very short time, we're not going to need money for anything at all, because we're going to have all the best items that money can buy, and the only other items that we're going to want are going to be things that we're going to have to find. So just keep fighting these clowns, get those Staff of Thunders, sell them, and you can see we have over 60,000 gold here, and we fought the clown one more time so that we can use the staff. At this point, it's kind of difficult to decide who should be using the Staff of Thunder as a weapon. It's definitely the best weapon that the Princess of Moonbrooke can equip, but sometimes because of his higher strength, you may want to give it to the Prince of Cannock, because you may actually use him in melee combat sometimes. This is assuming that you don't have an Iron Spear for him. An Iron Spear would deal 5 more damage, so that's going to be a superior melee weapon for the Prince of Cannock. You just know after killing all those clowns that word is going to get around about Kylo's gang, the brutal group of vigilantes that murder innocent clowns while they're just awaiting trial. But that's the only way to get that clown money, and once you have enough of it, we're going to set sail for the town of Wellgarth, which has some of the best shops in the entire game, and that's where we're going to buy some premium weapons and armor. As we're sailing to the town of Wellgarth, we can try out that Staff of Thunder against these Medusa balls. The Staff of Thunder will make the Princess of Moonbrooke way more valuable in combat than she was before. However, there's a good argument for giving it to the Prince of Cannock, because the Princess of Moonbrooke can already cast magic that hits multiple enemies, while the Prince of Cannock won't get that kind of magic until later. so you may actually want him to have the Staff of Thunder in the meantime. By the time we get to the end of the game, the Staff of Thunder is definitely going to go to the Princess of Moonbrooke, but for now, it could probably go to either character. And here's 2 more Medusa balls. We'll just speed this one up. Obviously, 2 Medusa balls is easier than 3 Medusa balls, so these ones should be no sweat. As you head south of Midenhall and you get to the tip of the land here, if you keep heading south, you're going to see a tiny island with a monolith on it. That is the Shrine of Rubiss, and that's where we're going to go once we have all 5 crests. This larger landmass is a big island that contains the castle of Osterfair, and although we didn't access the castle from the outside, we have been to the castle of Osterfair before. That's the one that we went to through the travel door in that monolith south of Midenhall, and it's where we got all of those magic knives that we were able to sell for money. 3 sea slugs should be no problem, and if you continue going south underneath that large island that contains Osterfair, that's going to take you to the area where the town of Zahan is, and also where the World Tree is. So if you need to stop at the World Tree and get another leaf because you used it, don't be afraid to use a leaf of the World Tree if you're in a dungeon and somebody dies. Just use it. You can always come back and get another one. But we're going to head near the Leaf of the World Tree pickup spot and just keep going to the left. And over here is where the town of Wellgarth is. We've been here before. It's where we got the Jailor's key, but we're coming back to buy some really good weapons. The most important weapon that we're going to buy is the Light Sword. That's going to be a very powerful weapon for our hero to use, and it also has an effect when used in battle that casts the surround spell for free. So that's a great item. And the other thing that we want to get is the Shield of Strength. The Shield of Strength is the best shield that the Prince of Charlock can use, and if you use it as an item in battle, it will cast the Heal More spell for free on the person that has it. So you can't use it on another character, but whoever is holding the Shield of Strength can use it as an item and get a free Heal More. Well, the Sword of Erdrick is only worth 2 pieces of gold. That is highway robbery. This guy does not recognize quality. It really doesn't matter how much he'll give you for the Sword of Erdrick. Once we get the Light Sword, we're not going to need it anymore, and none of the other characters can equip it, so you might as well get rid of it. If it's not worth your time to sell it, just throw it away. It's pretty much the same thing. And here's that good store. So we want to get the Light Sword, make sure to get that. And we're not going to just get one Shield of Strength, we're going to get one for both the Prince of Charlock and the Princess of Moonbrooke, although the Princess of Moonbrooke can't actually equip it, but we want her to have it anyway, because we still want her to be able to use it as an item to heal herself for free. Being able to heal yourself for free is great. I've considered getting a 3rd Shield of Strength for our hero, but for the most part, he should always be attacking, and other characters should be trying to heal him. So let your other 2 casters take care of your hero. Don't worry about him having the ability to heal himself, but make sure to get a Shield of Strength for the other 2. Those are going to be very valuable moving forward. Now that we have all of this awesome new equipment, what should we do to demonstrate its power? Fight a boss, perhaps? There's a pretty good boss that we can challenge over in Osterfair Castle, and the easiest way to get to Osterfair Castle is still to take this path south of Midenhall, use your repel magic so you don't have to fight a bunch of weak enemies, and just make your way to this monolith, use your golden key when you get inside, and the travel door will take you right into Osterfair Castle. Once we get inside, we don't want to go to the right through the door like we did when we were doing that magic knife trick. Instead, we need to go all the way to the top, across to the right, and in the middle of the right side, we'll be able to find the entrance to the castle proper. The King of Osterfair Castle is in possession of the Moon Crest, which is one of the 5 crests that we need to be able to finish the game. The Moon Crest should not be confused with the Moon Fragment, which is a completely different item that we also need to be able to finish the game. To get the Moon Crest, the King of Osterfair is going to want us to fight a very dangerous monster in his Colosseum, so before that, let's check out what's going on in this town. This guy is wondering where the armor of Gaia is. Well, that's something that we found a long time ago, and we've already gotten rid of it. This guy has the magic armor. The magic armor is a very good armor that the Prince of Cannock can use. Of course, the hero can use any armor and any weapon, but the magic armor will prevent some damage from magic attacks. It does not prevent damage from breath attacks though, and eventually we're going to be able to get a better armor that will be able to do that as well. Many of the other townspeople here have information about the sinking of the Relentless, the pirate ship that went down when somebody accidentally pulled the drain plug out. This guy tells us that we can find the echoing flute by discovering that sunken treasure, and that is something that we'll be doing later. Don't put a whole lot of stock into what this fortune teller says. He pretty much always says to go north. Up here we can talk to this prisoner, and we have the Jailor key so we don't even have to talk to him through the door anymore. He has a clue about a guy named Torval from the nation of Zahan that has the golden key. So that's one of the clues that could have helped us figure that out, although once you're in the town of Zahan, so many people are talking about the dog that it seems like the dog has to lead to something important, and it wouldn't be that hard to figure that one out on your own. We can stay at the inn just to make sure that we're ready for the boss, and if we want to talk to the monster before we fight it, we can see that it says Roar. And it looks like an ordinary dog, but it's no dog at all. That's a saber lion, so technically, it's a cat. Because all this guy does is attack and it takes several rounds to kill it, this is one of the few situations where surround is actually good. So you may want to try that, but don't expect your casters to be able to do significant damage to this guy. Just make sure that your hero stays alive, and after a couple rounds of combat, it shouldn't take much to finish off this boss and win that Moon Crest. Don't forget to go back and talk to the king after you fight the boss. You have to do that to get the crest. If you check your status, you can see which crests you have. The crests do not occupy a position in your inventory, they just appear as a little symbol on that status screen. Right now we have the Sun and Moon crest, 3 more to go. Once we've returned to Midenhall Castle, we can cast the Repel spell and then talk to the innkeeper. That'll give us a free casting of Repel essentially, because the next thing that we need to do is head off to sea once more. In part 1 of this guide, we spent a good bit of time in the town of Hamlin. This is where we found our 3rd character, the Princess of Moonbrooke, and then we established a base of operations there while we did a level grind. I always said that we were going to have to come back to the town of Hamlin later, and the reason is that there's a door that we were unable to unlock before, but now we have all of the keys, so we have to go back there and open it up. In addition to that, if you didn't get the Iron Spear yet, now is the time to get it. I think it costs less than 800 gold pieces, so considering that we can sell a Staff of Thunder for 19,500, there is no reason why we shouldn't be able to afford the very best melee weapon for the Prince of Cannock. So since we have to go to Hamlin anyway, if we don't already have that Iron Spear, now is the time to get it. Of course, you may have to face some battles in the sea, and 3 Medusa balls plus a Mana War. That's a pretty good one. We have the Staff of Thunder now, so that makes it a lot easier. And with that, it seems that the Princess of Moonbrooke has leveled up to level 9. She may be lagging behind in levels compared to our other characters, but with each level that she gains, she gets a bigger bonus per level than the other two characters do. With the equipment we have now, the fights at sea are getting a lot easier, but they're still worth a decent amount of experience points, so make sure to fight these enemies, take care of them carefully. In this battle, we'll want to prioritize the Medusa balls with our hero, and have our other characters focus on taking out the sea slugs. Use the Staff of Thunder as an item, so that you can take out whatever the largest group is. And it looks like, oh, the sea slug tried to call another sea slug in. I sort of wish that would have worked so that we would have got even more experience points. Oh, okay, well I got my wish with another sea slug appearing from the other one. The Staff of Thunder should be able to clean these guys up. And yeah, we should get very good experience points for that, 227. And it looks like our hero has leveled up to level 14. Very good. We're just following the coastline down to the town of Hamlin. This area should look familiar to you from earlier in the game. And here's the town. Before we go to the mystery door, we're going to hit up the stores first and get that iron spear so that our Prince of Cannock is a little bit stronger in combat. Right now, we can sell some of the items that he's not using, make sure that there's room in his inventory, and we're going to grab that iron spear for only 770 gold pieces, which is pretty much nothing at this point in the game. Make sure to equip it after you get it, and now he has a solid 39 attack power. It's not great, but it's also not terrible. We're going to stay at the inn as well. Behind that mysterious door, there's a boss fight, so we definitely want to be ready for that. Once you have all of your affairs in order, head up here and open up the door. We'll need to use the golden key to get through. This is going to take us down to a prison cell. You can pass through and go to the other side where we can talk to an old man that has a clue for us. So we can say hi to this guy by the campfire. This guy has a similar clue about the wizard Rubiss, but it's a little bit less specific than the one we got from the Dragon Lord. So if we weren't sure about where Rubiss was, the Dragon Lord had the better clue about that. With the Jailor's key, we'll be able to get inside this cell, and whenever we talk to this gremlin, well, it's not a gremlin at all. This is one of the more powerful gremlin enemies, an Oswarg. The Oswargs can do a whole lot of different attacks. They have the ability to breathe fire, they can heal themselves, they can actually call for help, they can cast sleep or stop spell. You'll certainly want to have Dragon's Bane items equipped so that you don't get affected by the sleep and stop spell as much. And just make sure to keep the hero alive, because these guys are dangerous. The Princess of Moonbrooke may be able to get them with sleep magic. They have a less than 50% resistance to it, so there's a pretty good chance it'll work. Once they're defeated, you need to search in the upper right corner, and that's where you'll find the Water Crest. So that's 3 crests down, only 2 more to go. Once you have that in the Iron Spear, we can use the return spell to go back to Midenhall Castle. You don't even have to go outside of the city, you can use it from right inside the cell. Clearly, all the new equipment that we were able to buy by exploiting those evil clowns for money has made us very formidable in combat, but it's only going to get harder from here. We haven't gone in any of the more difficult dungeons yet, and before we attempt any of those, we need to get the very best armor for the Princess of Moonbrooke and the Prince of Cannock. That special piece of armor is known as the Water Flying Cloth, and although it is a unique piece of armor, it is possible to get 2 of them, and that is a trick that we definitely want to do, because without 2 water flying cloths, the end game is going to be very difficult. To get the water flying cloth, we need 2 components, and we have one of them already, the Dews yarn. The other component for the water flying cloth is called the magic loom, and we can find it in the town of Zahan. Hopefully you remember how to get to the town of Zahan, but if you don't, we're just going to head south from Osterfair. It's not as dangerous to fight the monsters in the sea as it was before, so now if you run into things like these vampirus or gargoyles, you may just want to fight them. The vampirus only use physical attacks, but sometimes they get to attack twice, and occasionally it may call for help and try to bring a second vampirus into the action. The gargoyles also mostly attack, but occasionally they will try to use stop spell against you, but the joke's on them because we have the Staff of Thunder, and stop spell doesn't prevent the Staff of Thunder from working. So if they do waste their turn casting stop spell, I mean that's probably just a big mistake for the gargoyles. We should be able to finish off this team fairly easily with the levels and equipment we have now. The seas used to be a dangerous place, but as we progress farther into the game, they're just not that scary anymore. And there's the town of Zahan. Let's head in there. The magic loom is located in the wizard's house, which is that area in the northern part of town that's full of barriers that can kill you by walking on them. Yay, everyone's favorite. As you cross the barriers, if you don't have the step guard spell yet, which we don't, make sure to just heal yourself every few steps. What I'm trying to do is make sure that all 3 of my characters have more than 45 health if possible. If you can do that, then you'll be able to take 3 steps without dying. So you go 1, 2, 3, then heal everybody. Takes a few minutes to do this, but just be patient with it. And if you see that somebody has less than 45 health, or exactly 45 is not enough, that will get them killed. So we should heal Artho 1 more time. Alright, everybody is safe for 3 steps now. Each step deals 15 damage, so that's why 45 is the number we were looking for. And now we're finally going to be able to step off. There's another treasure chest on the right side, but it's empty, so don't worry about going over there and having to take a whole bunch of damage to walk across the barriers again. We just have to get to the door over here on the left. That's where the magic loom is. Use your Jailor's key to open up the door. And there is the treasure chest. Whenever we search, we will find the magic loom. Alright, so we have the Dews yarn already. We found that in the northern Dragonhorn Tower. And we have the magic loom. So where do we need to go to get the water flying cloth? Well, it turns out we need to go to a town that we haven't been to yet. The town of Tuhn. Getting to the town of Tuhn is quite the adventure, so that's why we're going to stay at the inn in Midenhall first. And then we're going to hop into our ship. Most of the towns in this game are very close to the sea, so you can just sail right up next to them and get out of your ship and walk right into the town. That's not the case with the town of Tuhn. We're going to have to go up a river, and then we're going to have to get out of our ship and walk a bit inland to be able to get to this city, so this one's a bit of a bigger hassle to get to. You're going to head to the right from that peninsula south of Midenhall. Keep casting Repel so that you don't have to fight a bunch of pointless battles here in the ocean. We've leveled up a lot at this point, so most of those battles will not do a whole lot for us anymore. Once you see this desert, you're going to follow this coastline along to the south. You'll see some mountains at first, and eventually you're going to see a river that you can sail into. You want to sail into that very first river. Once you're in the river, make sure that you stay in it and don't get out of the river. You want to follow this up. So carefully let it weave around. There's a slightly different monster set here as well, so if you run into any monsters while you're in the water, they're a little bit different from the ones in the ocean. From here, we need to walk up and around, and we're going to have to go through some brown hills areas, which have a high rate of encounter. If you see a bunch of puppet mans, you want to run away from those. Those guys can dance a strange jig, which will make your characters lose MP. Here is a much more reasonable battle to fight. We can have our hero and the Prince of Cannock fight that baboon. The baboon's the most dangerous of the enemies here on the screen. But then we can have the Princess of Moonbrooke use the Staff of Thunder, which will hopefully take out most of those healers. Because there's so many healers on the screen, we're going to get a decent boost to our experience points, and that is multiplied across all the experience points we receive, so although the healers aren't worth that many, it's going to make the baboon worth a good bit more. The healers can't really hurt us very much at this point in the game, so we'll just be able to attack and use the Staff of Thunder to clean them up once the baboon is out of the way. From here, keep traveling across the brown hills. They have some of the highest encounter rate in the game at around 10%, and once you get over here, you still have to continue around and then down below that small lake to get to the town. These hunters can be fairly dangerous. They have a pretty high attack rate. Magidrakes have 0 resistance to damage magic, so the Staff of Thunder will wipe out a whole bunch of Magidrakes in one round very easily. The hunters are going to be a bit tougher, so you may need to use some of your more serious magic and items against them. We'll still use the Staff of Thunder, hopefully it will hit both of them, and it did. So that battle could have gone a lot worse. We almost lost the Prince of Cannock there. If we had lost him, it wouldn't be a huge disaster since we're pretty close to the town at this point, but would rather he didn't die. These sorcerers aren't that hard to kill, but they have a lot of tricks at their disposal. They can cast the spell of Firebane, which is very powerful magic, and they can also cast Stop Spell, which fortunately for us doesn't stop the Staff of Thunder from working. They also have a fairly decent attack they can do, but the most concerning thing that they might cast is Firebane, so that's what we really want to watch out for. And it looks like we've leveled up again. This time it's the Prince of Cannock, but no new spell this time. We're just a few steps away from the town now, so we should easily make it, but no, 2 more of those sorcerers. So same as before, don't be afraid to use Stop Spell against these guys. That can work pretty well and stop their Firebane attack, which is the most dangerous thing that they do. But your attack should clean them up pretty quickly. And can we make it to the town? Alright, finally got in there. This is the town of Tuhn. There are 2 things that we need to do here in this town. The first is we need to find this master that can create the water flying cloth, a guy named Don Mahoney. I'm not sure if the Don is short for Donald, or if his first name is Mahoney and he's a mafia boss who makes magical armor in his spare time. Over here at this weapon store, you can see that there's a very expensive weapon called the Falcon Sword. The Falcon Sword only adds +5 to your attack, but it allows you to attack twice. We're going to be getting that Falcon Sword later in the game, and we're going to be able to use a trick with it, which will allow us to do a ton of damage. Here we meet Jenna. Jenna wants us to know that her father's name was Ruffles. That may sound like irrelevant information, but we'll see why she told us that later. Using the golden key, we'll be able to find Don Mahoney, and when we talk to him, he'll automatically take our Dues yarn and the magic loom, but he doesn't immediately make the water flying cloth. To be able to get it, we have to actually save and reload the game and then come back here. Unfortunately, there's nobody that can save the game for us in this town, so we have to leave and come back. But don't leave just yet. If you leave right now, it's going to be a lot more difficult to come back the second time. What we want to do is go up here to this strange hidden area above town. You can see a dog up here that says Ruff Ruff, and if we talk to this guy, well, he says that he wouldn't name our dog Ruffles for all the dragon's gold in Alefgard. So that's where the Ruffles thing came from. But the dog is supposed to tip us off that there's more to this town than meets the eye, and we're going to use our Jailor's key to go into this hidden stairway, and this is where we need to use the Watergate key. Once we've opened the Watergate, that's going to allow us to go to a new dungeon, the Moon Tower, but in addition to that, you'll see that now the river has been connected, and the next time we come back here, we'll be able to take our boat all the way up to where the city is. But first, we need to go back to Midenhall, so let's use our return spell, and we want to do the trick to get not 1, but 2 water flying cloths. The way this game works is that once you have the water flying cloth in your possession, you won't be able to find the magic loom and the dews yarn anymore, but because Don Mahoney took those items from us and didn't give us a water flying cloth yet, before we go and pick it up, we can get the dew yarn and the magic loom again, save and reload the game, don't forget to do that step, and then when we go back to the town of Tuhn, we'll be able to get our first water flying cloth, but then we'll be able to talk to Don Mahoney a second time and give him a second set of components to make another water flying cloth. It is extremely important to get 2 water flying cloths. If you're farther in the game and you already have 1 water flying cloth, you can sell it or throw it away and then start this trick from the beginning to get 2 of them. So make sure to go back to the Dragon's Horn 3rd floor. Just keep searching until you find your second dews yarn. We already got another magic loom. So now we have a second set of the components. And we're going to go back to the city of Tuhn, but it's going to be way easier to get there this time. So we're just going to head down there. This is all in fast motion because we already know how to get to this area. And you remember where the river was that we went up before? Right there, right? Skip that river this time. We want to go to a different river now that we've opened up the Watergate. So go to this river down here. Carefully follow this river up. This is the one that's going to take us directly to the town of Tuhn, but you can't do this if you haven't opened the Watergate already, so the first time you go to the town, you have to go the long way, but as long as you remember to open that Watergate the first time you go to the town of Tuhn, you'll never have to take the long way a second time. I did mention before that there's a special set of monsters in the rivers. This set of monsters includes Hawkman, a Hork, and Gas, which are some different enemies that you don't see in a lot of other places. The Horks are very common in dungeons. We're going to see them in a lot of the dungeons that we have to fight, but you don't usually see them out here in the overworld. In this particular set of 3 monsters, it was the Hunter that was the most dangerous one. That's why we killed him first. The other 2, the Gas and the Hawkman, not really as bad, so we'll just finish them off. Don't forget you can use your Staff of Thunder as an item, but I'm sure you haven't forgotten that because that's just something that we're going to be doing very often from now on. And you can see as you follow the river around, you'll be able to get off in that lower part of the Brown Hills there, and we gotta fight another battle. 2 hunters this time. We'll use the Staff of Thunder on the hunters and try to focus a lot of our firepower on those guys. We're also very close to the town right now, so if you need to use extra magic, feel free to do it at this point. The inn is not very far away. Also using our shields so that we can get some of our health back. If one of your casters doesn't have anything to do, they could parry, but now that they have the Shield of Strength, that's another option that they might want to use if they've taken some damage. Here's 2 sorcerers again. We know what these guys do. Stop spell is a good way to deal with them. It makes them very ineffective. Not a whole lot they can do without spells. I'm hoping this will be the last battle that we have to fight before we get back to the town of Tuhn, but you can't ever assume that that's going to be the case. Any step that you take could result in a battle. Always be prepared for a possibility that you might hit a random battle. Keep your health high, heal between battles. And we did, we made it into town, no problem, but it could have gone differently, you just never know. Once we get in here, we're just going to head back to where Don Mahoney is, and we need to talk to him twice. The first time we talk to him, he's going to give us one water flying cloth, but then we need to talk to him again so that we can give him the components to make the second one. So now we have to go save the game and reload one more time. He doesn't make the water flying cloth for us immediately, but we might as well have the princess equip the first one that we got in case we have to fight some more battles when we come back here. So we'll use our return spell, we'll save with the king, we'll reload the game. This may seem tedious, but it doesn't actually take that long, and it really is worth it. It's so much easier to get back to town once you've opened up that Watergate. And here's another battle. This time it's hunters and Hibabangos. Hibabangos mostly attack, but they also can do things like cast the spell of defense, which will lower the defense of your party, and that can be very dangerous when they're paired with hunters that already hit pretty hard. Hibabangos also can cast the spell of surround, which will make you more likely to miss. But in this pair of enemies, it's the hunters that are the more dangerous ones, so you want to have your hero focus on taking out the hunter, and have your casters use some of their abilities to finish off the Hibabangos, but get those hunters out of there as quickly as possible, and then worry about the purple baboons. Staff of Thunder should be able to handle these guys and a few attacks from our other characters. Only one left, should not be a problem. We can use our Shield of Strengths if people get low on health. And that does it. Kind of a tough battle, but it seems that the Princess of Moonbrooke leveled up, and at level 10 she gets the spell of Defense. This is a spell that can lower enemies' defenses, and this can be very helpful in a number of situations, including against the final boss. Ultimately, a lot of battles don't last long enough for the spell of defense to matter. You'll just attack things and they'll die in a single round of combat, so lowering their defense isn't really useful. But for some of the bosses and some of the more dangerous enemies, especially things that use the increase spell, which is the opposite of the defense spell, the spell of defense can be pretty handy, and we kind of wish we had it when we were fighting those Gorgons in Charlock Castle. When we talk to Don Mahoney again, we'll get our second water flying cloth, and this one is for the Prince of Cannock. Our hero can wear the water flying cloth. One of the most excellent armors, it reduces all magic damage and breath attacks by 50%, and it also protects from swamp and lava damage. The hero is eventually going to get the Erdrick's armor, which doesn't prevent as much magic and breath damage, but it does prevent 25%, which is pretty good, and it has a much higher defense value, which will prevent more physical attack damage. So that's a piece of armor that only our hero can wear, so that's the one that he's going to get. But make sure that you have a water flying cloth for both the Prince of Cannock and the Princess of Moonbrooke before we move forward from this part. The next thing that we're going to do is find that Shipwreck, the Relentless. This is a totally optional side quest. You do not have to do this to be able to beat the game. All you get for it is an item called the Echoing Flute, and the Echoing Flute will help you find the crests. But if you watch the video, I'm going to show you where the crests are, so you definitely don't have to get this thing, but I do want to show you where it is, because it is kind of an interesting item. It plays an interesting sound effect. It's a fun one to get, so this is totally optional, but I did want to show it in the video for completeness. The Shipwreck is located out in one of the deeper parts of the sea where there's more dangerous enemies, and when we first got the ship, we probably didn't want to go on some foolish side quest to get an optional item that we didn't really need, but now that we have some very good weapons and armor, we have higher levels, the monsters at sea just aren't that dangerous, and so now if we want to go and get the echoing flute, it's not going to be very difficult to do so. We are following this continent. This is where the city of Lianport is. Those are the Dragon's Horn Towers, so that should help you get your bearings. So just keep following this continent up here to the north. Eventually we'll get to the top of it, and whenever you get there, we're going to head over to the right, but oh no, one gargoyle. Whatever shall we do? We should be able to easily finish off this gargoyle in a single round of combat. Our hero is pretty strong now, especially with that Sword of Light. So we'll head up here, stay close to the land, head over to the right, and we just want to keep going over to the right until we see land appear again. So right there, as soon as you see the land pop up, that's when you want to start heading north. And that disturbance in the water is what we're looking for, so go right here, and this is where you're going to search. And we discovered the treasures. Alright. Once we find the treasure, we need to go back to the city of Lianport to be able to get the echoing flute. So we don't just find the flute in the shipwreck, we have to go visit this city and talk to a guy who will convert our treasure into the flute. You may remember where he is. He's in the building over on the right side, and well, we can stay at the inn here to get some of our health back. We did fight a few battles out there at sea. To be able to talk to the guy that we're looking for, we have to go and talk to the old man that gave us the ship, and he will allow us to use this ship right here at the dock, which we can take over to where the guy's little house is. So we'll just sail down here, use your silver key, and this is where the guy that gives you the echoing flute is, so talk to him. As promised, we now have the echoing flute. The echoing flute, totally optional item, but if you use it when you're near one of the crests, you're going to hear an interesting echo. So whenever we're near one of the crests, I'll use it for you so you can hear what that sound effect sounds like. Once you have it, we're going to go to the Lighthouse, and coincidentally, that is where we're going to find the fourth of the 5 crests. It's right over here. It's off the coast of the city of Hamlin, so that's actually where we're at. We're right near where we came through the Monolith to get to the Dragon's Horn. And this lighthouse is a pretty serious dungeon, so be ready for some battles. The Gorgons that we fought in Charlock Castle are back, and 4 is probably too many Gorgons to be fighting. We're a lot more powerful now with better weapons, and we also have the defense spell, but I wouldn't recommend fighting more than 3 Gorgons at a time. The way we want to go here in the lighthouse is around the outside perimeter, and here's a fight that we may want to roll the dice on. 1 mummy man and 3 Gorgons is a slightly dangerous battle, but I think we can handle it. We'll have Artho fight the mummy man. He shouldn't be too hard to remove. Make sure that the hero is attacking the Gorgons so that we can try to get rid of as many of those as possible in as few rounds as possible. And with this many Gorgons, we should definitely have the Princess of Moonbrooke cast her defense magic. That's going to lower the very high Gorgon defense, and it will also counter their increase spell, which will raise their defense. So if they happen to use the increase, then the defense spell will make it go back to normal. With just one Gorgon left, now's a good time to have some of our casters use their Shield of Strength. Whenever you just need to do one more attack, that's a good time to be using those shields. And with that, it looks like Kylo has leveled up to level 15. We're getting very powerful now. The way you want to go here on floor 1 of the Lighthouse is to go all the way around the perimeter, and that path is going to take you to the upper right corner of the center of the floor. One single Gorgon is no problem, we'll be able to take it out in a single shot, and then we can get back to what we were doing. So we're going to head around here. The path will lead you to the upper right corner of the center of the room, and that's where there are 4 different stairways that we can take, and the stairway that we want is the one in the lower left corner. So don't take that stairway. If you want a treasure chest, there's one right up here. It just contains a small amount of gold, so nothing too exciting, but if you want to grab that chest, go for it. And this time we have 2 mummy men and 2 saber tigers. So we're fighting a similar set of monsters to the ones that we saw in Charlock Castle, but we're going to be fighting a higher frequency of these monsters, and sometimes they're going to be mixed in with some dangerous guys like enchanters, so we'll want to watch out for that. 2 saber tigers and 2 mummy mans should be no problem. And whenever there's only one left, we can use some of our items and then get back to navigating the lighthouse. So avoid that stairway. Remember that whenever the screen transitions, that's the time when we're going to hit a lot of our battles. There's a 33% chance of hitting a battle on a screen transition. So whenever we enter a room like this, be prepared for a battle. 2 Gorgons and 2 mummy mans, not too bad. We'll try to get rid of the Gorgons before they make the mummy mans too dangerous. And we should be able to use our Staff of Thunder to maybe take out both of those mummy man in one round. Hopefully we can hit them both. That would be good. Nice. Alright, the Spell of Surround doesn't deal us damage, so that's not a big deal. And that fight is not that hard to finish. The problem with the Gorgons is just that they make the fights go on for a very long time, and that's not very desirable, but they don't do a lot of attacking. So whenever you see 3 Gorgons like this, you don't have to worry too much about taking a lot of damage. The real problem with them is that they're going to put you to sleep, they're just going to keep increasing their defense, and we're going to keep hacking at these things for 7, 8, 9 rounds of combat, and when we're done, we're not going to have a whole lot of experience points to show for it. So make your way to the lower left corner of the middle of this floor, and that will take us to stairway A. And once you're in here, it's not too difficult to get where we need to go to get the crest. In this battle, we're going to use our Staff of Thunder on the Saber Tigers, and we're going to have the hero attack the Gorgon. The last thing that we want is for that Gorgon to keep casting its increase spell and make those Saber Tigers very difficult to kill. Of course, their defense doesn't matter when they're being hit by the Staff of Thunder, so maybe it's not that big of a deal. Shouldn't be too hard to finish this battle right now. 222 experience points, not bad. Make sure to keep our health high. And we're going to follow this path down and to the right. And that's the stairway that we're looking for, letter B. Like a lot of the towers in this game, you might think that the treasure we're looking for would be at the very top of the tower, but that's not the case here. Instead, we're going to travel most of the way to the top of the tower, and then start heading back down to find the treasure that we need. Magic ants we've certainly seen before, but these undead enemies are new. They're not particularly special though. The undead can only do physical attacks, so that makes them very predictable. And the magic ants shouldn't be that dangerous anymore because we have the Dragon's Bane items that make it harder for the magic ants to put us to sleep. So we're going to focus our attacks on the undead because they're the ones that can actually deal us damage. And once those guys are out of the way, we should be able to easily finish off the magic ants. We can also have the Princess of Moonbrooke use her Staff of Thunder on the magic ants, which should get rid of them very quickly. And that looked like a pretty intimidating battle with a lot of monsters, but it wasn't actually that bad. On this floor, we're going to head to the upper left corner, and here's a gold orc. This guy usually appears alone, but if a gold orc ever appears with a lot of other monsters, that would be pretty bad. This guy has a decent amount of hit points and just does physical attacks, so you can expect it to do a physical attack every turn, and with the levels we have right now, I don't think we're going to have a lot of problems fighting this guy, so this could be a good opportunity to use the Shield of Strengths to get some health back. And that takes us to Stairway D. We'll follow the path along over here to the right. 3 Gorgons and an undead. You could probably fight that, but it's going to take a while. Might not be worth it. And we're going to head into this stairway. That's Stairway E. And that brings us up here to the 6th floor. We're going to need to use our silver key on this door, although it appears to be a door that you would use the golden key on. Most of the doors that you're going to see in dungeons like this, you'll need to use the silver key to open. We have a boss to fight at the end of this thing, so we don't want to take too many battles. Anything that looks good, feel free to fight. A single magic ant, I mean, we should be able to beat that in our sleep. A single attack from maybe even one of our casters can probably kill a magic ant. And when we get to this floor, we see that there's a strange gremlin hanging out over there. But whenever we chase that gremlin, we'll see that he runs into a different room, so we'll need to follow him. Kill off that Gorgon, and let's see what's going on with that gremlin. So he runs into this room, and in here, there is no gremlin. Instead, there's an old man who tells us to follow him. So do what the old man says and give him a follow. We've certainly fought this battle before. Try to get rid of the undead. Don't worry too much about the magic ants. Staff of Thunder should take out the magic ants quite quickly, but we want to get rid of those undead first. So use the Staff of Thunder on the undead in the first round to soften them up, and then the attacks from our heroes should be able to finish them off. So we're back to following that old man, but don't forget to heal between battles. And he's going to lead us to the stairway that we need to go on to try to get to the crest. Also be careful not to drop off the side of the tower. That is something you definitely don't want to do. You'll have to start over from the beginning. So we're working our way back down the tower. And this takes us to the 3rd floor. 3 dragonflies. Not super dangerous. Dragonflies have a fire breath attack which can hit our entire team. But you may recall that we have the water flying claws now, and you can see how good those are. Our casters only took 5 damage each from that fire attack. So that's one of the big reasons why water flying claws are so important. And as we get deeper into the game, more and more monsters are going to use magic or breath attacks against us, and we're going to be super happy that we have those. So dragonflies, not very tough to beat. Just keep following this old man. And we're healing up. This time it's going to take us around to Stairway K. And that brings us back to the 2nd floor. This is where the crest is. 3 mummy men and a saber tiger. Not too bad because we can use the Staff of Thunder on the mummy men. Take out that saber tiger with the hero. And we should be able to wrap this fight up pretty quickly. make sure to stay healthy. It's almost time to fight the boss. The boss in this area is going to be 4 gremlins. So we had to fight 2 gremlins as a boss before. This is going to be 4, so that's 2 more than we had to fight the previous time, but we're so much more powerful now that 4 gremlins, not a very difficult boss. We can handle this. In fact, this fight with the saber tigers and the undead, that might be more dangerous than the 4 gremlins that are the boss. Still, we don't want to go into a boss fight with low health, so keep your health high. And this is not the boss, this is another random fight that we triggered because we had a transition whenever we walked into this room, and there's still that 33% chance of having to fight on a transition. But no problem. Now, after we were rudely interrupted, the old man tells us to open the treasure chest. And so that's what we're going to do. But of course, as Admiral Akbar would let us know, it's a trap. Whenever you open that chest, there's nothing inside. This whole thing is a big trick. And 4 dragonflies. Let's just run away. Certainly we can beat them, but we're all ready to fight a boss now. Let's do this. Alright. It's not going to be our last. It's going to be yours. 4 gremlins. You probably should have brought 40 gremlins if you wanted to beat us. Use your Staff of Thunder. Have your other characters attack. These guys just aren't that tough. You can try using the Spell of Sleep against this team. I mean, that could work. Sometimes the gremlins might try to call more gremlins, which is a little bit annoying. But instead of using the Spell of Sleep, you might as well just give them some damage. Use that Staff of Thunder, and it shouldn't take too many rounds to finish these guys off. As long as you go into this with high HP and you have all the good weapons and items, it's going to be very difficult for the gremlins to beat you. I mean, they're only doing 6 damage to the Prince of Cannock, let alone our hero. How would they ever kill the hero? And with that, the gremlins are defeated, and it seems that the Prince of Cannock has leveled up, and he finally learned the Heal More spell here at level 14. It's the same Heal More spell that the Princess of Moonbrooke gets at level 1. We're not going to be mad about it though. It's very nice that the Prince of Cannock can finally cast a better heal spell. You get the Star Crest automatically this time whenever you beat the boss. So as soon as you're done in there, you can cast the spell of Outside, which will bring you out of the Lighthouse, and we can continue on our way. We now have 4 of the 5 crests, but getting that last one is not going to be so easy, and we're going to have to find a number of other items before we'll be able to get it. Now, since we're in the area, I promised much earlier on in part 1 that we would eventually visit the Castle of Moonbrooke, and so we're going to do that now. This is sort of a dungeon. You can get attacked by monsters in here, but at this point in the game, the monsters aren't very powerful, and it's also nice to be able to come here when we actually have keys so we can open some of these doors, although you can actually go around the doors if you want. There are 2 treasure chests in here. They are both empty. Very disappointing. As we're wandering around here, we hit a battle. 4 lizard flies are a joke. These are the kind of enemies that we were leveling up on much earlier in the game, and now that we have items like the Staff of Thunder, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to finish off all 4 lizard flies in a single round of combat. This is the reason why we didn't want to come to Moonbrooke Castle before though. There's nothing that we need to find in here, and the monsters would have been a lot more dangerous earlier in the game. This spirit has a good clue that would have been useful earlier in the game to help you find the Mirror of Ra, and over here we're going to be able to meet with the ghost of the King of Moonbrooke, who would have also had a good clue for us and told us that his daughter, the princess, was transformed into a dog. However, since she's actually with us in our party right now, we'll get to see this special bit of dialogue where the king says, "Alas, it is I. It is Hargon's way of firing those that he doesn't need. So if you bring the princess with you, you get treated to a pun. Nice. With that little optional side quest out of the way, we'll head back to Midenhall Castle, and the next thing that we need to do is get an item called the Moon Fragment. Without the Moon Fragment, we won't be able to enter the Undersea Cave, and it's inside that Undersea Cave that we're going to be able to get a very important item called the Eye of Malroth, and we're going to need that Eye of Malroth to open the way to the final area of the game. Before we do any of that though, the Moon Fragment can be found in the Moon Tower dungeon, and that's the tower that is located directly south of the town of Tuhn, so we know how to get back there. We want to sail up the river, and since we already opened up that Watergate, it'll not only be easy to get back to the town, but the Watergate must be open for us to be able to get to the Moon Tower. So that's the number one reason why you need the Watergate key. It doesn't just make it easier to get back to the city of Tuhn, it's required to be able to get into the Moon Tower. It seems that we can use the spell of Repel to stop most of the encounters in the ocean right now, but whenever we get into the rivers near Tuhn, and near Tuhn in general, the Hawkman enemies as well as the hunters have enough attack to get through our repel, so we may have to take some battles that involve those types of enemies, but we're not going to be seeing things like 2 sea slugs and a man-o-war. Those kind of battles are just not going to appear. So as you can see, this one included a Hawkman. A Hawkman has enough attack that it's not repelled by us at our current level and item loadout. It is important to remember that if you have a better weapon, that will make your hero have a higher attack score, and it's your hero's attack score with the weapon that matters for the repel spell. Well, we're going to head here into the river and follow it up to the city of Tuhn. We can cast repel again if we want to, but now that we're in the river here, we would have to take a lot of the fights anyway, so there's no point once we get this deep in. 2 Hawkman enemies should be no problem for us. They have a high enough attack to not be repelled, but that doesn't mean that they're difficult. The Moon Tower is certainly a more difficult dungeon than the Lighthouse dungeon we were just in, so I do recommend not going directly to the tower, and instead stopping up in the town of Tuhn to use the inn, make sure that everybody's refilled, and then take a walk down to the Moon Tower and challenge it with a fresh set of HP and MP. This battle shouldn't be too hard to finish. The hunters can deal significant damage though, so if your characters get damaged, don't forget that you have those Shield of Strengths that you can use to heal yourself for free. And don't forget to heal yourself outside of battle. We're about to get to town, so use up as much MP as you want. It doesn't actually matter. We're about to hit the inn. Of course, we have to assume that you might hit another battle, especially walking through those brown hills that have a 10% encounter rate. And we did. We found 2 more sorcerers, so you can't take it for granted that you'll be able to just walk to town when you only have a few more steps to go. Always take the time to heal. It'll save your butt. Right now we only had to take 3 more steps, but we still did 1 more heal more just to be safe. And we're going to head in here. All we really needed to do here was use the inn. If you have some extra items in your inventory you don't need, you may want to sell them at this time. But all we needed to do here is use the inn. The price is a lot more expensive than in our hometown of Midenhall at 120 gold, but we have plenty of money at this point, so no worries. And after that, just walk right across your ship, and we'll be able to enter the Moon Tower. Similar to the Goopies that we fought before, these Graboopies can call for help, bringing more enemies into the battle. This is a good time to talk about how experience points work whenever you fight groups of monsters. Any time that you fight more than one monster, you get an experience point bonus, and that bonus is 10% for each monster beyond the first. So you take the number of monsters that you fight, subtract 1, multiply by 10, that's how you get your experience points bonus. However, if the monsters call for help, that bonus does not change from the beginning of the battle. So there were 3 monsters when this battle started, and it doesn't matter how many they call in, we're going to get a 20% bonus. That also matters if the monsters run away. If you fight 8 metal slimes, 3 of them run away and you kill 5, you still get the 70% bonus for the 5 that you killed. So large groups of enemies are more dangerous, but they can also be more lucrative. You can see here there's 5 enemies, so we're going to get a plus 40% bonus for fighting this. I also moved the Staff of Thunder over to Artho so that the Princess of Moonbrooke can cast her Inferno magic whenever we're fighting large groups of enemies. The Prince of Cannock doesn't have any magic at this point that can hit a whole group of enemies, so that's why I switched the Staff of Thunder over to him, although he's still using the Iron Spear as a melee weapon, and because it was already equipped when we switched it over, the Princess of Moonbrooke is still getting the melee attack bonus from the Staff of Thunder, although she's rarely going to be attacking anyway. Now, if you're at slightly higher levels so that the Prince of Cannock does have magic that can hit groups of enemies, you can leave the Staff of Thunder with the Princess of Moonbrooke. But I think it's good at this point to have 2 casters that can hit groups of enemies, and you'll see that the Princess has also leveled up here. She has a lot of MP, so that's another reason why it would be good for the Prince of Cannock to be using the Staff of Thunder as an item here. The Princess just has more magic points to work with, so she's going to be able to roast some enemies in combat. If we come up here, we can find an optional treasure chest. It just has some gold pieces, but it's not terribly out of the way to go up there, although we do have to deal with this transition action. If you fight a Puppet Man and any other enemies, remember to prioritize the Puppet Man. That guy can steal your magic points, and that would be pretty awkward. Don't forget that the spell of Sleep works pretty well against gold orcs, and if you can hit them with it, well, that'll effectively remove them from combat. This battle should be pretty easy to win with a sleeping orc and a dead Puppet Man. And with that, we'll be moving on, although it looks that Kylo has gained a level as well. So we're getting up there. Level 16 isn't bad. We're going to need at least level 25 to beat the game. You may be able to beat it with lower levels than that, maybe even level 21, but you'd have to get pretty lucky to beat the final boss at that level. As usual here in this moon tower, the item that we're looking for is not at the top of the tower. It's never at the top of the tower in Dragon Warrior 2. No. We need to keep going up, but eventually we're going to have to start going back down. At the top of the tower, as is typical, there is an empty treasure chest so that the developers can laugh at you for going all the way up there. I'm surprised they don't put a treasure chest that has a bomb inside at the top. At this point, we should know better than to go all the way to the top of the tower. And also, if you pick up this bamboo stick, you should just throw that away. It's not even worth selling. We're going to head over here to the right and take these stairs up. And then we need to use our silver key on another door that looks like it should be opened with the golden key, but remember, doors in dungeons, silver key. And now we begin our descent. An evil clown and 3 horks is bad news. We should probably run away from this. Well, we tried and yeah. It's good that we have the water flying cloth to protect from spells like Firebane, and we also have things like the Dragon's Bane that will help us get protected from sleep. But still, fighting that many enemies when we're trying to get to the end of this thing, probably not our best idea. Just run away whenever you see bad odds, and that will help you survive. Even after taking one round of beatings from the monsters, we didn't lose that much HP, and if we had fought those guys, it's likely that we would have taken at least that much damage. Just keep following the stairs down, and down here we'll see an old man. He tells us that the full moon waxes and wanes and controls the tides. So that's a clue that tells us that we're going to need to use this moon fragment to open the way to the Undersea cave. It's a pretty cryptic clue. The good news is, no boss this time. So that tower wasn't that difficult, and if we cast the spell of return because we haven't saved anywhere else, we can go back to good old Midenhall Castle and use the very cheap inn. We might as well cast the spell of repel first so that we don't have to cast it afterwards and use up our magic points. But now that we have the moon fragment, we'll be able to get into the Undersea cave, and that's where we're going to find the Eye of Malroth. The Eye of Malroth is an extremely important item, and it's the only way to open the path that leads to Rhone. The Undersea cave is located out in the deep ocean, and if we travel too long in the deep ocean, our repel spell is not going to stop the monsters from fighting us out there. However, if you follow the path that you see here in the video so that we stay close to this coastline near Hamlin, I guess it's kinda near Hamlin, the monsters here are not as strong, so we're not going to meet any encounters until we get closer to where the actual cave is. So by doing this, we'll minimize meeting monsters in the sea, because this is one of the more difficult dungeons and we want to be ready for that. When you get to this mountainous area, you're looking for that area where there's only 3 mountains in a line, and that's when you want to head over to the right. And you can see that now that we're closer to the cave, there's more dangerous monsters in the ocean, but because we didn't stay in the deep ocean for as long, we were able to minimize our battles out here. So we're only going to have to fight one set of monsters, shouldn't have to use any MP, if any. The Staff of Thunder, and we'll just have Gwen parry here, this should be fine. And now we're going to use our moon fragment to open the way to the cave. So you can't get past this blue water, well, the light blue water. Use the moon fragment, and that will turn the tides. I'm not sure why the land around it has to change, but it does look cool. And here it is, the Undersea cave. Right off the bat here, we're surrounded by dangerous lava, but the good news is, only our hero is going to take damage from it because our casters have the water flying cloths on, and that makes them immune to the lava. If you see a big battle like that, you probably want to run away. We've just started out in this dungeon, and we may have to face a lot more battles before we get to the end. We're going to take Stairwell A here, and that brings us down to the 2nd floor. And here's one grab oopie, which shouldn't be a big deal, but we were surprised by it, so it did call for help, and now there's 2 of them. Unfortunately, we don't get any bonus experience points for this, even though it called for help before we had a chance to attack it. We're gonna have Gwen use Inferno, and we can have Artho use the Staff of Thunder. That's why he's carrying it right now, because we want to make sure that both casters can hit multiple enemies, just in case we have to fight large groups like this, or monsters like the Graboopy that may look like there's only one there, but by the time they get their turn, there's actually 2. Alright, one more time, Staff of Thunder, and yeah, just heal somebody here. Looks like Artho's getting weak. Didn't get bonus experience points for that, which is unfortunate, even though they called in a lot of monsters. And something you need to watch out for in this cave, trap treasure chests. Yeah, we lost 34 health from that. I marked the trap treasure chests with a skull and crossbones on the map, so look out for those and do not open those chests. In addition to the treasure chest traps, there are dozens of stairways in this dungeon, so I highly recommend sticking to the marked path on the maps and just go the way that I go, or you can easily get lost down here and end up in all kind of random dead ends. 1 gold orc is not that big of a deal. You could have the Princess of Moonbrooke either parry or use the Spell of Sleep. Spell of Sleep could be good, but when there's only 1 gold orc, they're going to be removed pretty quickly, so you probably don't have to use it. You want to use the Spell of Sleep against those guys whenever they're paired with more enemies, so you can focus on the other enemies and just remove that gold orc from battle. Ah, a Metal Babble, here we go. The Metal Babbles give you the most experience points in the game, and wow, we got a critical hit on it. Alright. Metal Babbles, like metal slimes, usually run away, so unless you can get a critical hit on them or hit them several times with the hero, you're probably not going to be able to kill one right now. But they're worth so many experience points that I usually give it a try, just to see if we can maybe kill one and get lucky. Here's another Metal Babble. Oh, this time it didn't see us, so we have a really good chance. You'll notice right away that we're only dealing 1 damage at a time to the Metal Babbles, and that's because in addition to having the most experience points in the game, they also have the highest defense in the game at 255. That means that by math, to be able to deal more than 1 damage at a time to a Metal Babble, you need to have about an attack of 129. But to be able to kill one in a single hit, which is the better way to be able to fight those guys because they run away so often, you need to have more like 160, 170 would be even better to reliably be able to kill those guys. Down here on basement floor 3 there's a door. Guess what key you need to use? That's right, the silver key. Sure, the door looked red, but the silver key is the way to go. We're gonna walk right past that trap treasure chest this time. And we're gonna fight a gold orc here. Gold orc, pretty easy when it's by itself. Could be a good opportunity to use some Shield of Strengths to get some health back, because we're gonna take that guy out pretty fast. There's another chest over here in the corner. This one contains gold, so if you want to stop up here and grab that you can, but gold not very exciting at this point in the game, considering that we can get so much gold just by selling off Staff of Thunders. There's only 3 different enemies down here on floor 3, so there's not a lot of variety, although there are a number of different configurations that you might see. 1 mummy is no big deal. This should not be confused with a mummy man. Clearly it's blue and purple this time, so it does look different, but the name is not very far off, so that's just a mummy. The mummy man are a weaker version. We want to take this stairway. There's like so many stairways there, but that's the one that you want. And if you pop up here, there's a free Dragon's Bane, so if you don't have a Dragon's Bane for all 3 of your characters, you may want to grab that. And it sells for a half decent amount of money, so you may want to grab it anyway. And down here, we've added some Metal Babbles in, so we'll try to fight this guy again, but you will need to get pretty lucky to be able to kill a Metal Babble. If you do kill one though, you'll get a lot of experience points, and they have a high chance of dropping an item called a Dragon's Potion, which would be very useful if we got it early in the game. Oh, ran away again. That's just what Metal Babbles do. Although sometimes you can get into some dangerous fights with Metal Babbles, where they're grouped with other enemies, and then they start casting Firebane magic on you, and sooner or later you notice that you're dying and you're just trying to kill those for experience. Down here is where the boss is, but there are still random encounters on this floor, and this Metal Hunter is a very dangerous monster. It has pretty solid defense at 80, and when it attacks, it typically hits 2 times or does a critical hit. So either way, pretty bad news. You'll want to take those out quickly or run away. And this guy is the boss. He looks like some kind of wizard, and whenever we talk to him, he is very offended that we barged into his house. Oh, this is your house? It looked like a lava-filled cave. Oh, okay. Juggalos. I knew it smelled like Fago down here. The evil clowns must have heard about what we did to all of those prisoners because it seems that they formed an entire evil clown posse. It's not going to be very difficult to fight these guys. They are still vulnerable to the spell of sleep, so make sure that the Prince of Cannock has your Staff of Thunder so he can be using that as an item, and have the Princess of Moonbrooke cast the sleep spell against these guys and use her as a healer whenever she's needed. Using that strategy, it shouldn't be too hard to beat these guys. Your water flying cloths should protect you from the Firebane pretty decently. And once they're defeated, be careful. You don't automatically get the Eye of Malroth for killing the boss, and you could still fight random encounters down here after the boss has been killed. So we still need to walk a few more steps to get the thing that we're looking for, and we may run into a battle, and if you took a beating from the evil clowns, a metal hunter like this could pop up and really mess up your day. Well, or we can mess up his with a critical hit. Take that, metal hunter. And we're just gonna head up here. Inside the treasure chest is the item that we were looking for, the Eye of Malroth. Once you have it, you can throw away your moon fragment. You will not need that anymore, assuming that you never get rid of the Eye of Malroth. You should never, ever throw away the Eye of Malroth. I cannot stress this hard enough. Certainly you could get another one, but you would have to go down to the bottom of the Undersea cave to get it. You see, the Eye of Malroth will open up the way to Rhone, but that's not the only thing that it does. In a real sneaky move by the developers, you also have to use it again in the final dungeon, so that's why you can never get rid of it. You won't be able to get to the end of the game without it. Now that we have the Eye of Malroth, we can make our way to Rhone, the final area of the game. To get there, though, we have to pass through the Cave to Rhone, which is the most difficult dungeon in the game. This dungeon is seriously nasty. There are all kinds of traps, very vicious monsters, but there's a lot of great treasure in there as well. So while the risks are great, the rewards are greater. The Cave to Rhone is located in an area north of the town of Wellgarth, but you can't just sail up to it. It's surrounded by mountains. The only way to get there is to go to the final town in the game. That's right, there's another town that we haven't visited yet. We briefly got near it whenever we went through those monoliths that had all the different travel doors in them. This is the town of Beran. It's right down here, so you can see where that monolith was on the map. And it's just above where the sunken treasure was, where we got that echoing flute. I haven't forgotten about the echoing flute, by the way. We will use it before we find the final crest. In here, surrounded by a small lake, is the town of Beran. And it looks like we have to fight an orc outside of this. This orc is easier than the gold orcs that we've been able to fight before, so a plain old brown orc is going to be no problem. Now that that guy is out of the way, we can get back to going into the game's final town. This town is sort of the gateway to Rhone. There's a bunch of people here, and they have various clues, mostly about things that we've already figured out in the game. Although, if we head over here, you'll see that this prisoner is surrounded by a new barrier type. That type of barrier deals even more damage, so you need to be very careful when you're walking over barriers that look like that. Beyond that, there's an item store and a weapon and armor shop, but no unique weapons and armor here that we haven't seen already. This guy tells us about a weapon called the Thunder Sword, and he also gives us a clue about it, telling us that you don't need to be able to use magic to use its power, and what he means by that is it's one of those things that we can use as an item to get a magical effect in battle. It's also one of the most powerful weapons in the game, so it's certainly something that we're going to want to pick up. We won't be able to buy the Thunder Sword in this town though. You'll have to find it in the Cave to Rhone. We can take a look at the item shop. Pretty standard stuff here. Won't need any of those things. They've all been replaced by magic spells that we already have. If we talk to this guy, he tells us what the leaf of the world tree is for. Yeah, thanks for telling us now. This guy has a pretty good clue for us. He tells us that the sun crest is hidden in the fire monolith, and if you remember, that's the crest that we found by searching around the back side of that building. So if you didn't know it was there, that's the clue that would have helped you figure it out. This woman tells us how to make a water flying cloth, and this old man up here has some of my favorite dialogue in the game. If you tell him that you do have the time, he's happy and says thank you, but if you tell him no, then may thy ears become cabbages and thy tongue a sausage. Whoa, if you're gonna be like that, old man, maybe get a watch or, I don't know, a sundial or something. This woman tells us about the world tree. Yeah, we definitely know about that already. And this guy can actually save the game for us. So that's pretty handy. I recommend saving the game here because we're about to go into a dangerous dungeon. And if you die and lose all of your money, you may want to reset and reload, although we know at this point in the game, money is not super important, so it may actually just be better to take the death and keep all the experience points and treasure that you found. This guy's a House of Healing. This is one of the closest House of Healings to the end of the game, so if you need curse removal later, you may need to come back here. And you'll want to use the Jailor key up here. And we don't have that step guard spell yet, so we're going to take a bunch of damage from these barriers. Be careful that you don't die here. Watch yourself after each step. You don't want to lose characters for no reason. We're about to go into a serious dungeon. I suspect that the game designers expected us to already have the step guard magic when we got this far into the game. So we're definitely under-leveled for this next dungeon, but that's okay. With good strategy, we're going to be able to survive, and we're going to be able to get some of the best equipment in the game, which is going to make this certainly worthwhile. Now you may be thinking, well, this dungeon's so difficult, shouldn't we just level grind for a long time before we go in there? And you could, but I recommend just trying to get through this cave, because if we can get the good equipment out of there and then get to the other side, on the other side of the cave to Rhone is the best place in the game to grind levels, and we'll be able to level up super fast if we can just get through this difficult dungeon. If you follow the path and the strategies that I show here in the video, I don't think that you're going to have a lot of problems getting through it. The real danger in this dungeon is that there are pit traps that open up underneath you and drop you onto a lower floor. If you know where those pit traps are and can anticipate them, you can just walk around them and you won't have to keep repeating floors, and that's going to make this dungeon way easier. Over here in the swamp, this is where we need to use that Eye of Malroth. So once you're standing in the swamp, use it, and a path will be revealed. I like the way that the mountain just parts in the middle, like we're Moses of mountains or something. Make sure everybody's healed up, and as soon as we get inside here, you gotta follow my path exactly. Go straight up, then go straight up here, follow this wall along, so follow it straight up there, and then go straight over to the stairs. If you follow that path exactly, you won't hit any pit traps. Now there's no pit traps up here, and you can actually go to the left or the right here, it kind of wraps around. But we got a nice lucky battle, 8 metal slimes, so this is awesome. And a lot of them aren't running away. We should have a good opportunity to kill a bunch of these metal slimes, and we're going to get that plus 70% experience bonus. So this is good stuff. We're a lot stronger than we were in the earlier parts of the game, so now our hero can hit hard enough to kill a metal slime in a single shot. And that's what we need. Our other characters probably need to be able to do a critical hit to kill a metal slime, so they're unlikely to kill any, although we did kill one in this particular fight with the Prince of Cannock. Speaking of the Prince of Cannock, after that very lucrative battle, he's leveled up to level 15. Now here on the second floor, what we need to do is go 3 hallways over to the right. So that's 1, 2, and on the third one, we're going to go up. But before that, we have a battle, and whew, that is a lot of enemies. We should probably run away from that, although those dark eyes could drop an evil shield if you kill them last. If you are fighting some dark eyes and get the evil shield, don't equip it, it's cursed, but don't throw it away either, it's going to be a useful item later. Up here on the third floor, we're going to head over here to the right and take this stairway at the end of the hall. Before we could reach the stairs, we've been attacked by an Orc King and a Gargoyle, but the Orc King is new, that's the more notable enemy here. Orc King is the most powerful type of Orc, but they are still vulnerable to the sleep spell. They only have a 29% resistance, so more often than not, your sleep spell is going to work on this guy, and once he's asleep, well, he's not much of a threat, is he? He did wake up this round, but that costs him his turn this round, so he won't be able to attack until the next round, and he's probably going to die this round, so I don't think we have a lot to worry about. Whew, it did put a pretty big hit on our hero, but he had plenty of HP to absorb that. And we have won the battle. So let's make our way up the stairs. We're just going to pass through the 4th floor here very quickly. And up here on floor 5, we're going to find the Armor of Erdrick, and whoo, this is a pretty saucy battle. If we could get lucky enough to kill the Metal Babel, we'll get a plus 70% bonus, which is going to add at least 700 points of experience, which would be pretty nice. We also have some spells and the Staff of Thunder that can quickly take out all of those healers. The healers aren't worth a whole lot of experience points, but they're going to give us bonus experience if we can get lucky enough to kill the Babel. Sometimes you'll fight this battle, but there will be 2 Metal Babels instead of just 1. That fight is a bit more dangerous. Now the Metal Babel ran away, so it looks like it was all for naught. We'll finish off the healers anyway, but we're not going to get a ton of experience points for just killing them. So definitely be more cautious if there's 2 Metal Babels mixed with other enemies. That Firebane magic they can do does add up. Once you have the Armor of Erdrick, make sure to immediately equip it. This armor not only has a great defense stat, but it also reduces magic and breath attacks by 25%. And oh, here's the battle I was talking about with the 2 Metal Babels. This one can get you into trouble. You want to remove those healers so that the battle takes less time and they don't keep healing the Metal Babels. If they're healing the Metal Babels, you'll never kill the Metal Babels. Alright, one of them ran away, so that may be for the best. Maybe we can get lucky and kill this Babel, but we do need to get rid of those healers. If the Babel gets healed, yeah, it'll take forever to kill. We'll need to get a critical hit to finish it off. We may be able to kill the Metal Babel over several rounds if it doesn't run away though, so we'll see what happens here. Come on. We want to kill that Metal Babel. I missed instead. Perfect. So you can see if both Metal Babels were in play here and they were continuously using their Firebane magic, this battle can drag on and you can definitely get in trouble against these guys, but I usually want to fight them anyway because 1,000 experience points is often worth the risk. We also already got the Erdrick's armor, so if we die here, we're still going to be able to keep that and we'll just go back to the town of Beran, which isn't even very far away. I was hoping that we can also get the Thunder Sword on this trip. And once again, we didn't kill the Metal Babels, although there were 2 of them to try to kill that time, and we only got experience points for the healers. Kinda sad, but you gotta try, right? After you have the Armor of Erdrick, we're going to head back the way that we came. The Sword of Thunder is one of the more difficult things to find in the game. Remember how I was talking about the pit traps that can open up underneath your feet if you walk in the wrong place? Well, we need to intentionally walk on a certain pit trap to be able to find the Sword of Thunder, so that's pretty mean. Here on the 3rd floor, you want to follow this path all the way to the top, so go all the way to the top and then head to the right. follow this path along and you're going to find Stairway E. Okay, here's a new monster, a Berserker. This guy is very similar to the hunter enemies that we fought before. It only does physical attacks, but it has a very high attack score, 119, so those guys can hit very hard and are quite dangerous in multiples. Oh, we also got a Giant Hammer. Giant Hammer is kind of a mediocre weapon, so you can sell it for a lot of money if you have inventory space for it, but if you're running low on space, feel free to throw that away if you get one. Alright, 2 Berserkers are definitely more dangerous than just one, but it's when they're combined with other enemies that they're very dangerous, but you can see 37 damage to Artho. That was like half of his health. These guys are very... Oh yeah. Yeah, we just lost the Prince of Cannock. So that's the risk you run when you fight these guys, and if you see like 4 of them pop up on your screen, you gotta run away. Those guys will tear you up. Well, Artho died, but Gwen gained a level, and at level 12 she finally gets the antidote spell, so I guess that's nice, although not super important. This is what the Leaf of the World tree is for, so we'll use that on Artho. He comes back with 1 hit point, so make sure to heal anybody that you bring back to life with the Leaf of the World tree, and I don't recommend trying to use it in battle. There's a good chance your character will just get murdered again. We are going to have to go back to the World Tree after this to get another leaf. Up here on floor 5, just go right over here and drop into this pit that's next to the stairway, and down here you want to move in this left down zigzag pattern until you can see the floor. Once you see the floor, you're going to move down until you're 1 space away from the wall, and we're going to run away from this. This is a crazy battle. 2 flames and 2 of those Hargon Knights, these guys will mess us up, and we didn't get lucky on the first run, but the way running works, you almost never have to run more than 2 or 3 times to get away from a battle, but you can see why we wanted to run away from those. Just 1 round of combat and we're already almost dead. So back here in this big wide open floor, you're going down to the next to the last space, and then you're going to head all the way to the left until you fall into a pit. At the bottom of that pit is a small room that contains the Thunder Sword. I have no idea how you'd ever find this without seeing a map. And we have an Orc King and a Berserker. Make sure to prioritize the Berserker here. You can probably use the sleep spell on the Orc King to take him out of the action. Remember, those Berserkers are super dangerous if they're allowed to live for very long. They don't have a lot of defense though, so it's not hard to kill them. At this point, the Orc King is asleep, so we can take this time to use our Shields of Strength to restore some health. And our hero should be able to finish this guy off in 1 more round. He's awake now though, so gotta be a little bit more careful. Try to put the sleep on him again so that he loses his turn. Didn't even have to do it though. Oh, and with that, we have leveled up again. This time it's our hero, Kylo. Power increases by 3, that's pretty good, and 5 more HP. Not bad. That 3 power combined with the Sword of Thunder we're about to pick up is going to be quite nice. I'll just speed through this battle. Obviously the Berserker is the high priority target here. We need to get him out of there before he's able to hit us for too many damage. Oof. Almost killed our hero. That could have been bad, but once we get this Thunder Sword, we're getting out of here anyway. We don't need to do everything in 1 trip, although it would be nice to also get the Life Crest here, and I think we can do it. It's not that far away, but if your characters are very beat up after you get the Thunder Sword, then it's okay to go back to the town of Beran and heal up at the inn, and then come back here and do the Life Crest on another trip. And we'll keep that Giant Hammer for now. We can sell it for some money. We don't really need money, but we are going to want to buy the Falcon Sword pretty soon, so we may have to go back and fight the evil clown in Midenhall to get enough money for that. And having the extra money from the Giant Hammer could save us from having to do 1 more loop of the evil clown. So we went outside. We could have gone back to town, but we're going to try to get that Life Crest very quickly. follow this path carefully. You don't want to fall into a pit. Over here, though, we're going to go straight down into this stairway, and this area is known as the Hork Pit. There's 4 Horks here, but they were all broken up into different groups, which makes them a lot harder to kill, so that's why we decided to run away there. This area has the highest encounter rate in the game. Every step has a 33% encounter rate, which is the same as when the screen transitions. So you're likely to hit a battle every 3 steps, and sometimes it's even more frequent than that. So make sure that you don't take a single step after fighting a battle without healing yourself up. We are getting low on MP. The treasure chest that we need to find is not very far away, but there's a good chance that we may have to do several more battles before we can get to it. Don't be afraid to bail out and use your outside magic if you have to, and watch the Prince of Cannock's MP. If his MP gets too low, you're not going to be able to cast outside and return, so make sure that you save 12 magic points for that. If you'd like to come back here later and use this as a place to level up, this could be a decent level grinding spot, but once we get through the Cave of Rhone, we're going to get to a way better level grinding spot, so there's no real need to try to grind levels here in the Hork Pit. Fight as many as you feel safe fighting, run away whenever you see a large group of them. If you're low on resources, just try to run every time. You may notice that the hero is poisoned right now, but we don't need to take very many steps, so I'm not even going to worry about that. Only 2 Horks, we should be able to kill these guys. We only need to take 1 more step now to get to the treasure chest, and that is the life crest. But don't assume that we won't fight a battle when we take that next step. It could happen. Alright, we did it. Let's try out that echoing flute real quick, because this is the last crest. It's a little bit like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. But when you hear that echo, that means that a crest is in the same room, and that's essentially all that the echoing flute does, but I did want to show you how it worked. Once you have it, we can use outside and return to get back to Beran, and we definitely need to use the inn. We also need to sell some junk, so we want to get rid of some items that we don't need. But yeah, let's take care of that inn first. We are pretty beaten up and have very few magic points left. So take care of anything else you need to do here in town, save the game if you want, whatever. The next thing that we need to do is stop over at the World Tree, because we used up our Leaf of the World Tree already, and we do want to grab another one for safety, so we'll stop over there. It's sort of on the way to our next destination. Our next destination is the Shrine of Rubiss. That's right, we have all 5 crests now, so it's time to finally get the Charm of Rubiss, the mandatory item that we need to open up the final dungeon. The shrine is located on a tiny island, and we can go to it by heading north from the Monolith near the town of Zahan, or by just going south from Midenhall. It's right in that general area. So if you head around the left side of the continent that Midenhall is on when you're going south from Midenhall, right when you get around the landmass there, you just want to start heading straight south. And that's another way that you can get to the Rubiss Shrine. But we're going to hit it here from the bottom side, so if you go straight up from here, we should be able to find it. And there it is. Another battle though. We are in the deep sea here, so our repel spell may not block all the monsters. We do have the Sword of Thunder now, which is nice. That means our hero attacks for even more damage, and that means that we're able to repel even more monsters because he has a higher attack score. So we'll stop in here. There are no monsters in the Shrine of Rubiss, just a bunch of stairways that take you deeper and deeper under the sea. When you get to the bottom, you'll definitely know that you're down there. We're going to head to the white space in the middle. It's sort of an altar, and if you look at our status, you can see that we have all 5 crests. And now, we'll finally get the Charm of Rubiss. Ah, 3 descendants of Erdrick. Yes, I shall help thee. I am Rubiss, an enchanter, and long ago I promised Erdrick to help when the time came. Now is the time. We know that from some of the people that we talked to, that the evil wizard Hargon is a master of disguise, and by using the Charm of Rubiss, we'll be able to break that disguise. I'm not sure why the Mirror of Ra wouldn't work here. It worked whenever he had transformed the Princess of Moonbrooke into a dog, but I guess this is a much bigger illusion that we need to shatter this time, and we need a lot more firepower, so we need the Charm of Rubiss. And we're going to head up here and make a quick pit stop in Midenhall Castle. We need to get a bit more money so that we can afford to buy the Falcon Sword. The Falcon Sword is a weapon that we're going to use to perform a trick, and it is an extremely powerful trick that will make the end game of Dragon Warrior 2 a lot easier. So don't miss out on this one. Don't forget that you need to sell the Staff of Thunder before you'll be able to get another one. I think that by selling just one, we're going to have enough money. Oh yeah, we definitely have enough cash. And I'm sure that when this evil clown was arrested, he was probably super scared after hearing about what happened in the Undersea cave. Yeah, Kylo's gang strikes again. Once we're done sending another evil clown to the Dark Carnival, we can stay at the inn, and then we can cast the spell of Return to go back to the town of Beran. From here though, we're not going to go right back to Beran because we want to get that Falcon Sword, and they don't sell it in Beran. They only sell it in one place, the town of Tuhn. Although we're about to buy the Falcon Sword, we're not going to equip it just yet. We're only going to use it whenever we do this trick later, because it only adds +5 to our attack, and you may recall that the Sword of Thunder we just picked up adds +80, which is a massive difference. The Prince of Cannock can also equip a Falcon Sword, but at these levels right now, he doesn't have the muscle to make it very valuable, so you're better off just leaving him with the Iron Spear, although later on in the game, you may be able to level him up enough that a Falcon Sword would actually be good, so keep that in mind for the far future. Once you have at least one Falcon Sword, you probably don't have enough inventory space to hold 2 right now anyway, although if you do somehow have the space for it, then, go for it, but make sure that you keep your Eye of Malroth and your Charm of Rubiss, and at these levels, we need to keep our keys as well, so there's a lot of items that we need to hang on to at this point. Once we cast the spell of Return, we'll go back to the town of Beran. We can stay at the inn because we're going to have to go back into the cave to Rhone, so we definitely want to be prepared for that nasty dungeon one more time. This time when we go back to the cave to Rhone, we have to get to the top floor, and that's where the most savage monsters lurk, but that's the only way that we're going to be able to get to the other side. So get ready for that. We still don't have step guards, so be careful crossing these barriers. They do quite a bit of damage compared to how little HP we have at this point in the game. Yeah, the Prince of Cannock is almost dead from just taking a few steps on those big-time barriers. So we'll heal everybody up, get everyone ready for the dungeon, and then we'll head back over there. Compared to the monsters we're about to fight inside the dungeon, these 3 Hibbabangos are certainly a joke, so we'll just speed this one up. We still don't have good magic for the Prince of Cannock so that he can damage multiple enemies, so he's still using the Staff of Thunder, but it won't be long before he'll be able to stand on his own. You may have heard the expression that all roads lead to Rhone, but that is not the case here. Oh no, you want to follow these paths exactly if you want to get to Rhone. So stay along this wall, go up 1 space, and then head straight over to the stairway. In here, we're going to take that third hallway up, so the same way that we went the previous time. So 2, and here's the third one. And no monsters yet, pretty nice. Here's the third floor. Here's a monster, but it's just a single Orc King. Although I don't like that it surprised us, that's pretty annoying. We'll have to use our Shield of Strength here. And yeah, we'll just parry. We're gonna finish this guy off pretty fast. Alright, take him down. Done. Up here on the third floor, we're going to take the path up again, just like we did when we were going to get the Thunder Sword. A single gargoyle, this is no problem. A few attacks should finish this guy off, no sweat. And oh look, there's a treasure chest. Let's see what's inside. Oh, an iron helmet. I thought it was a treasure chest, not a garbage can. Well, in any case, we're going to follow this path upwards, going the same way that we went to the Thunder Sword, so just follow it along until you get to the top and then head to the right. Go through a few chambers here, of course, pretty high monster encounter rate on the transitions, but it's a metal babble. Well, let's see if we're strong enough to fight metal babbles now. We should be able to deal a decent amount of damage with our new weapon. And 7, I mean 7's not nothing. We're not only hitting for 1 now, but it still ran away, so a little bit sad. Alright, keep heading to the right. And there's the stairs that are going to take us up to the 4th floor, which we're just going to go straight across. And here's the 5th floor. The 5th floor has pit traps in it, and it has some dangerous monsters, like the classic green dragon. The slimes, and the mage-type enemies are some of the only designs that return from the first game. This time, though, there aren't blue or red dragons, there's only the green variety, but they're still pretty mean and use a nasty breath attack, although we are pretty well protected from breath attacks with the armor we currently have. Now follow this path exactly or you'll fall into a pit. You already know that there's some pits right there because of the way we went to the Thunder Sword. And there's not that many pits on this floor, but there are a lot of dead ends, so pay attention to the path here. If you end up following a dead end, you'll have to do a bunch of screen transitions, and you'll likely fight a lot more battles, many of which are quite dangerous. This is only a single silver bat boon, but combined with other enemies, silver bat boons are extremely dangerous because they can cast the Heal All spell, which will refill their HP completely, or they could do it on another one of the enemies, and that is a huge problem. When there's just one, you should be able to finish it off without a lot of hassle, but multiple silver bat boons are something that we don't really want to be fighting right now, and you should run away from. I do want to mention that although we're using the Sword of Thunder instead of the Sword of Light right now, we don't want to throw away the Sword of Light just yet if you have inventory space for it, because it does have that extra effect that if you use it in a battle, it'll cast the surround spell for free, and there are probably a few bosses later in the game that you may want to cast a free surround against. So if you have the inventory space for it, you should probably hold on to that light sword, but if you are very tight on inventory space, it's okay to throw it away. You can always just cast a surround spell using MP. Stay on the outside of this rock formation. There's actually a pit trap in the middle, and a single berserker. Okay, shouldn't be too much of a hassle. I did switch the Staff of Thunder over to the Princess of Moonbrooke because it seemed like she was using too much MP, so I thought we could conserve a little bit and use her more as a healer. Plus, the Prince of Cannock has been getting better as a melee fighter, so he's been more capable in that way. At this fork, you want to go to the left, head up here, go up at that fork, and at the next fork you're going to go to the left, and well, we have a tantalizing metal battle babble again. If we can kill even one of these guys, we're gonna get that plus 70% experience bonus, in addition to the good old 1,050 points that the Metal Babbles already give us. We deal a lot more damage with our hero now, so maybe we have a chance against the Metal Babbles, but there is a concern that the healers could heal the Metal Babble, and well, they both ran away, so once again, we're not going to be able to kill one, but we are getting closer to being able to fight them. Remember, a good rule of thumb is that you're going to want to have around 160 to 170 attack strength to be able to kill Metal Babbles in a single attack, and the higher you have, the better, obviously. Once you get above 170, you should regularly be able to kill them in a single shot. But for now, we don't quite have that much attack strength, but we are in the range where we're able to damage them, so we would be able to kill a Metal Babble over several turns, and there's no way we should be trying to fight 3 green dragons and a berserker. That's just nuts. And we made it! We got to the other side. This is it. This is Rhone. We still have to get to the Monolith. It's a little bit far away. We could take our chances fighting a single silver bat boon, but don't mess it up here. If you die, you're going to go all the way back to the town of Beran, and it's essentially like you died in the dungeon. You didn't make it to the goal. Don't be afraid to run away here if you're beaten up already. You'll probably get away in at least 2 or 3 runs, and as long as you're keeping your health high, you should be fine. One Cyclops didn't see us. Well, we'll take this opportunity. We should be able to kill this guy. Normally, though, we should be running from Cyclopses, multiple Cyclopses. We just gotta get to the Monolith. Once we get to the Monolith, we're good. We can save the game, and then we can be totally reckless. Whew, we are definitely rolling the dice here. Alright, we got him. Oh, we gained a level, so our risk paid off. The Prince of Cannock made it to level 16. Well, it's about time. Try to stay on the snowy path here. I believe that has the same encounter rate as green grass. We're just a few steps away. We don't want to blow it now. Stay out of the brown hills. That is a very high encounter rate, and we certainly don't want that. And we just have to cross over a few bridges, and we've also crossed into an area with an even more dangerous monster set. Definitely run away from anything that involves a bullwong. Alright, well down here there's a travel door that can take us back to the regular world, but this is the best save point in the game. When we talk to this guy, he will heal our characters to full health, full MP, he'll even bring them back to life if they're dead, and he can save the game for us. It doesn't get much better than that. I'm not sure if you noticed or not, but since the beginning of part 2 of this guide, we haven't done any level grinding. We've just been adventuring and fighting the monsters that we encountered, ones that were too dangerous we ran away from, but we haven't specifically fought monsters to grind levels. Well, we have to do that now. The final boss of this game is a real piece of work, and with the levels that we have right now, there's just no way that we're going to be able to beat him. So we need to level up. Ideally, we need to get our hero up to about level 25, but here's the good news. These monsters are difficult here. Blizzards in particular can cast the defeat spell, which might just kill random members of your team. So that's pretty obnoxious, and you should treat those as a high priority enemy. But if you can kill them, we're going to get a ton of experience points, and we're going to level up super fast. Let's see how many we got for 3 blizzards. 1,631. Yeah, we leveled up already, see? So there, Kylo reaches level 18, and another level up. Yep. The Princess of Moonbrooke made it to level 13. The best part about this is, if you die, you just come back to life right here at the Monolith, and everybody will be at full health and full MP. You don't lose any experience points, you just lose money, but we don't need money for anything anyway. Here's an interesting battle. The giant is a very strong melee attacker. We want to prioritize getting rid of the blizzards because the blizzards can cast that defeat spell which can instantly kill members of our team, and that's annoying. In addition to that, they're going to be casting defense magic which will lower the defense of our party members, and then that giant can hit us very hard. The other reason why we want to defeat the blizzards first is because giants can drop one of the best weapons in the game, the Sword of Destruction, but you only get item drops from the very last monster that you kill in combat. So whenever you see giants, make sure that you try to kill them last. Until you get the Sword of Destruction, you can only have one of those in your inventory at a time. It is a cursed item, so if you get it, don't equip it, but don't get rid of it either, it's very important. And it looks like Artho made it to level 17, and we finally got that step guard magic that we can use to prevent damage from barriers. One important note about the step guard magic is that you can cast it before you walk onto the barrier, but as soon as you step onto the barrier, the spell will take effect, and as soon as you step off of the barrier, the spell will immediately cease, and you'll have to cast it again if you step onto another barrier. Here we have two giants, and oof, they killed the Prince of Canuck. That's okay though, we can be completely reckless here, just keep fighting the battle. We can always go right back into the Monolith, talk to the old man there, and the prince will come right back to life, so we don't have a lot of consequences, and giants are very good experience points, so we might as well try to finish out this battle. Whew, it is not going well though. The Princess of Moonbrooke is not going to be able to deal a lot of damage to these guys, so she'll need to be a healer here. And we've gained another level. This time it was our hero, who is now up to level 19, and the Princess of Moonbrooke leveled up as well. So she made it up to level 14. Very good. Lots of big bonuses for her there, but no additional spells. And you'll see, we just walk right back in here, talk to this guy. I always assumed this was an old man, but it could be a nun wearing a white habit, but I always thought it was an old man with a white beard. I'm not 100% sure on that. Here we have another giant and blizzard battle. Remember to prioritize the blizzard for two reasons. We want to get it out of there so it can't cast defeat or defense against us, and we also want to make sure that we're killing the giants last, because then they'll have a chance to drop the Sword of Destruction for us. They have a very high chance of dropping the Sword of Destruction. It's about 13%, so if we're level grinding here, we will probably find it at some point. Assuming that we don't always run away from giants, but we can be reckless. Remember, if you die, no consequences, so always fight giants when you see them. You might as well give it a try. Could be worth your time. Alright, we'll use the Shield of Strength here to keep the Prince of Canuck alive. He's not really doing too much in that combat situation. And we have leveled up again. It's our hero again. He's at level 20 now. We're getting pretty close to the minimum levels needed to beat the game, with the caveat being you would need the Sword of Destruction to be able to beat the game with the lowest possible levels. And here we see a new enemy that we haven't fought yet, a gold batboon. Gold batboons are extremely dangerous and should be taken out right away. They do a few things that are pretty annoying. For starters, they have a sweet breath attack that can make your characters fall asleep, which will make them extremely vulnerable to the two giants here. But that's not the worst thing. If you get that gold batboon down to a low amount of health, and it gets its turn, it may choose to use the magic of sacrifice, which will make it die, but it will also wipe out your entire team. Sacrifice is a huge disaster, and the gold batboons are one of the only enemies that can cast it. They have a fairly smart AI, so they'll only cast it if their health is low, so you want to make sure that you take them out quickly so that they don't have a chance to do that to you. And then we'll try to finish off the giants. so that we can maybe get that Sword of Destruction, and of course, get some more experience points. And with that, the Prince of Cannock is leveled up to level 18, and he finally gets the Firebane spell, which allows him to damage multiple enemies in a single group. The Firebane spell is essentially the same as Gwen's Infernos magic, or the Staff of Thunder's item ability, so while it's not revolutionary in any way, it will allow you to give the Princess of Moonbrooke the Staff of Thunder, and you won't have to worry about the Prince of Cannock not being able to cast a spell that damages multiple enemies. Later on, once we get the Sword of Destruction, we'll also be able to hand the Sword of Thunder off to the Prince of Cannock, and while he won't be able to wield it, he will be able to use it as an item, and it's even better than the Staff of Thunder. And at the end of this battle, we found a treasure chest, and there it is, the Sword of Destruction, the most powerful weapon in the game. Wow, and on top of that, the Princess of Moonbrooke leveled up to level 15, and she's going to learn a new spell, and it's one of her best. It's Heal All. Heal All costs an obscene amount of magic points at 8, but as you'll see from this demonstration here, that by casting Heal More instead of Heal All in bad situations, we weren't able to survive that exploded attack that the Bullwong did. So Heal All could have really helped in that situation, and we may have been able to win that battle. Don't be afraid to cast magic spells that cost a lot of magic points when you're leveling up here. You can go right back inside the Monolith and talk to the old man to get all your magic points back, so there is no reason to hold back. Once you have the Sword of Destruction in your possession, you don't have to always fight giants last because they're not going to drop the sword anymore. And there is one more item that we'd like to get, and that's the item that the gold bat boons drop, the Gremlin's Armor. The Gremlin's Armor is another cursed item, so if you do get it, don't immediately equip it, but it's another thing that we're looking for, so if you have to fight some gold bat boons, we know that they're dangerous, but you may want to save them for last, just so you can try to get that item drop. You will notice that just in the short time that we've been leveling up here, we have gotten a lot more capable in battle against these monsters, although we just lost the Princess of Moonbrooke. And with the end of this battle, we have leveled up again, bringing our hero up to level 21, which is probably the minimum level you could beat the game at, although I recommend going a bit higher than that. And the Prince of Cannock has also leveled up, although he doesn't get any new spells at level 19. Of all the monster sets you can fight here, the Bullwong combined with multiple blizzards is probably the worst, but 3 gold bat boons is another fairly dangerous one. Something that you might want to try is Stop Spell. That would prevent that terrible sacrifice thing that could happen, but usually you just want to be aggressive against these guys and try to kill them. Remember, if we die here it's not that big of a deal, and if we kill the gold bat boons, we're going to get a very good bit of experience points, and we're going to have a chance of getting the Gremlin Armor. We still want that Gremlin Armor, we're certainly looking for it, so we don't want to avoid fights that involve bat boons, especially since we already have the Sword of Destruction. The Sword of Destruction is the easier one to find. If you never find the Gremlin Armor, that's not the worst, but you certainly want that Sword of Destruction. Be on the lookout for that, and once you have it, you can focus on finding some other things. With that battle, Gwen has leveled up to level 16, and as usual, she gains a lot of bonuses, including 12 magic points, which is pretty awesome. When we first got to this area, Bullwongs would have totally destroyed us, but now we have a chance against them when they appear, and the good thing about fighting Bullwongs is they have a chance to drop wizard rings, and the wizard rings certainly not something that you need to beat the game, but that's one of the only items that can give you magic points back out in the field. Whenever you use it, there's a chance that the wizard ring will break, but this guy is one of the only monsters in the game that can drop wizard rings, and he'll also drop a good bit of experience points for you. So once you get some reasonable levels going on, make sure to challenge some bullwongs. You'll be happily rewarded occasionally. We've now reached level 22 with our hero, so it might be time to take a walk over to the final castle. We're not trying to beat the game just yet, but we are trying to enable a very powerful trick, which is going to make leveling up much easier, and we'll be able to level up even faster than we are right now. So we certainly want to do that. On the way over to Hargon's castle, we can also fight some monsters and maybe get some more experience points on the way. But you can see we're ready now, and this is something that you want to do right after you level up, because this is one of those tricks similar to the equip trick that we did earlier, that whenever you level up, it makes the trick stop working. So if you head over towards the castle right after you level up, you'll be able to maximize your time with it. As we head towards the castle, there's going to be two different ways that we can go, and you've certainly seen the gold bat boon fight before, so I'm going to speed that one up. But whenever you get to the fork, you could stay in the forest and go all the way around the outside, and you'll encounter some weaker enemies doing that, but you will have to go farther. So I usually take the shorter route, which takes you through the inside, but we will have to go across some brown hills, and we'll have to continue fighting the harder monster set, the one that includes the giant gold bat boon, blizzard, and bullwong. Although we will dip into an area that has a slightly easier monster set that includes monsters like cyclopses and silver bat boons instead. We'll try to fight this bullwong again. Something that you can do against a bullwong is try to use sleep magic on it. Sleep magic has a decent chance of success. It is less than 50%, so you can't count on it working, but when it does work, it's pretty devastating for the bullwong. And now Artho has learned another spell, and it's the spell of Increase. Increase is magic that he can use to increase the entire team's defense. This is something that you probably won't want him to cast in a standard battle, but against some bosses, especially ones that only use physical attacks, the spell of Increase is going to be a very valuable thing to have. And here's where that path forks. I'm taking the shorter way through the brown hills, but if you stay in the trees and go around to the left, that way is not wrong. We have to fight 4 blizzards here. These are very dangerous. It's a good idea to try to run away if you see some bad monsters here. We really want to get to the castle. Once we get to the castle, we'll be able to enable the trick, and then we can get back to being reckless. But for now, only fight the monsters that you know you're going to win against. Here's a good one. Even this could be devastating though. If the blizzard decides to use that defeat spell, 1, 2, or even all of us could end up dead over it. So make sure to get that guy out of here before he does that to us. And now we can just finish off the giant. We can heal up our hero. He is getting low on health. But that should be pretty good. One more round of combat should do it. And we can probably use the Shield of Strength or the Staff of Thunder with our casters. Once you know that there's only one more round of combat to do, you might as well try to get some of your health back, and maybe see if they can contribute to the action with an item that can be used as a spell. Once we step over into the sand, that's where we're going to see some different monsters. So once you get over there, expect things like cyclopses, silver bat boons, blizzards are still there. The one you gotta watch out for are attack bots. We saw attack bots before, but attack bots could be combined with other enemies here, and that's going to make them a lot more dangerous. Cyclopses are essentially just a weaker version of giants, so we certainly know we can handle these guys. They're worth moderate experience points, but probably not as good as the experience points we would get fighting the other enemy set, so that's why we were trying to grind up levels against those enemies and not these ones. And follow this lower path. That's going to get you to where the castle is. One giant is no problem, so we've switched back to the other enemy set. We only dip into that slightly easier set of monsters for a short time when we're walking in that sandy path. This giant is going down. Staff of Thunder loaded up. Attack. And, well, the Prince of Cannock was able to take him out. He's really growing up. That's my boy. Keep everybody healed, as usual. This is some RPG 101 stuff. Of course, we gotta heal ourselves. And we're going to stay in this strip of grass, and then we have to cut through some more brown hills, although we survived them that time. And we made it into the castle. Nice. And, well, this is weird. Hargon's castle here. Well, if I didn't know better, I'd think this was Midenhall Castle. This is the illusion we were warned about. You can try to buy items here, you can try to use the inn, but everything that you see is totally fake, and whenever we leave this area, all of it will be taken back. So we didn't get our health back from staying at the inn, we did not restore our magic points. If you tried to buy items over at the items shop, we don't get that. But this is how we're going to do one of the best tricks in the entire game, the Hargon's Castle illusion trick. While you're outside of the castle, have your hero equip the Falcon Sword. This is what's going to happen. We're going to go back inside the castle, and we're going to equip our very best stuff, all kind of nasty, cursed weapons and armor. But whenever we leave, all of that stuff is going to fall off because the castle is an illusion. However, just like many other things in this game, we're still going to get the stat boosts from it. So the Sword of Destruction brings our attack power up to 180, a pretty serious beating. And whenever we leave, you'll see that we still have 180 attack power, yet we have the Falcon Sword equipped. That means whenever we fight monsters, we're going to be attacking with the power of the Sword of Destruction, but we're also going to be able to attack twice because the game thinks that we're using the Falcon Sword. Even better, we don't lose our Sword of Destruction when we do this. We're still able to keep that in our inventory, so if we ever need to equip different items, or whenever we level up, anything that makes this trick stop working, we'll just be able to redo it. And you can see how effective we are. We also handed the Thunder Sword over to the Prince of Cannock, so now he can use that as an item in battle. It's similar to the Staff of Thunder, but it's slightly better. It's unfortunate that he's not able to equip it. If you don't have the Sword of Destruction, you can do the same thing with the Thunder Sword. You just won't be attacking for quite as much damage, but you'll still be able to attack twice. So we'll try to finish off this last gold bat boon. Hit him for 25 and 2 more attacks from Kylo. Well, we only needed 1 to finish him off there. And oh, he had the treasure chest! There it is, the Gremlin's armor. Okay, well the Gremlin's armor is something that we'll want to do the same trick with. The great thing about the Gremlin's armor though is, you can give it to the Prince of Cannock. He can actually equip this thing. So we're going to equip our Sword of Destruction and all of our stuff on our hero. We need to redo that. But then, we're going to send that Gremlin armor over to Artho. Have him equip the Gremlin's armor. That's going to give him a ton of defense. But whenever we leave, he still has the Water Flying Cloth equipped, technically, but he has the defense of the Gremlin's armor. That means he'll still get the benefit of taking only 50% damage from magic or breath attacks, but he'll also get a great plus 50 defense against melee attacks. It's the best of both worlds. There is another way to use cursed items that I'll be able to show you later in the video, but you won't be able to get that best of both worlds effect when you use the other trick, so this Hargon's illusion trick is by far one of the most powerful tricks in Dragon Warrior 2. You can see how much better we are against these enemies. And we've had our hero level up to level 23. We're looking for level 25 before we beat the game. And because he leveled up, we also need to go back to Hargon's Castle so that we can re-equip the Sword of Destruction with the Falcon Sword. Make sure to switch him back to the Sword of Thunder right after he levels up so that he can attack normally. And at level 17, the Princess of Moonbrooke also gains the spell of Outside. So that's nice, both of our characters can cast that now, but it was probably fine with just the Prince of Cannock being able to cast it. Oh well, we'll take it. Once you get this trick going, I like to level up in the area right outside of Hargon's Castle, so that whenever our hero or the Prince of Cannock levels up, which makes the trick stop working, we can just go right back in there and re-enable it. At level 21, the Prince of Cannock gets a pretty good boost to MP, but he doesn't learn any new spells. And we are heading back to the castle. If you die and go back to the Monolith, or if you have to cast Return so that you can go back to the Monolith and refill your MP, you may just have to walk back to the castle, but it's not a very long walk, and you'll be able to build up some experience points just fighting the enemies that you encounter along the way. We only need to gain 2 more levels on our hero before we can attempt to beat the game, and while I am going to show you how to beat this game with low-level characters, after we do that, I am going to talk more about building the ultimate team and some strategies that you should use for leveling up to the max levels. And after finishing off these blizzards, our hero has leveled up to level 24, so just 1 more level to go, and in the meantime we should be able to level up our casters once or twice as well. Don't forget that you may need to re-equip some different equipment after you level up, because that Falcon Sword trick will stop working and you don't really want him attacking with just a +5 bonus. Here Artho has gone up to level 22, a nice level boost, but no magic spell with that one. And here we got caught by an attack bot paired with a silver bat boon, so this only happens on that small strip over between the castle and the path. You'll also encounter enemies like this in the area south of the shrine that you get to outside of the Cave to Rhone, so that's where this enemy set lives. This may be the slightly easier set of enemies, and we've been fighting that harder set the entire time. But you need to be very careful about attack bots. Attack bots are no joke. They regularly will be able to attack twice in the same turn, and you can see that their double attack is devastating. Don't be afraid to use magic like Heal All. Use your Shield of Strengths to get people back into the fold, but make sure to prioritize attack bots when you see them here. Silver bat boons, they're dangerous, but they don't typically do double attacks like the attack bot does. And with that last silver bat boon out of the way, the Princess of Moonbrooke levels up to level 18. At level 18, she doesn't learn any new spells, she doesn't get a lot more strength, but she does get 8 HP and 9 MP, so yeah, that's pretty good. And here's that strategy that I like to use. Try to fight monsters right outside the castle. You can also fight them in the brown hills right below the castle. But as soon as the hero levels up, that's when I'll go back inside the castle, re-equip all of our good equipment, and then we can cast Return to get back to the Monolith and restore all of our health and MP. Then we'll work our way back to the castle where we can level up again. And you can see here, we finally got that level 25 that we were looking for, and we also got level 23 on the Prince of Cannock, which allows him to learn the spell of Defeat. The spell of Defeat is okay, it can instantly kill monsters. Unfortunately, here in the late part of the game, a lot of the monsters have decent resistance to defeat magic, so he may actually just be better with attacking instead of using that spell. With those level ups, we have the levels that we want now, so we're going to go into the castle and equip all of our stuff, but we need to go back to the Monolith here, talk to the old man, and just restore all of our magic points. Try to conserve your magic before you go in here, because it's time that we entered the final dungeon of the game. And I don't think this one's quite as difficult as the Cave to Rhone, but it features 5 bosses. 5 unique bosses. It's not just like we're gonna fight 2 gremlins or something like that. These are real bosses, and we'll need to be able to beat all of them to beat the game. Once you get in here, equip all of your stuff again. Whenever we use the Charm of Rubiss, that will make the illusion go away, and we'll still have our Falcon Sword equipped and our Water Flying Cloth, but we'll be getting the benefits from our cursed items. So it works the same way as just leaving the town, but instead we're going to use the charm here, which will make the illusion shatter, and we will see the true dungeon. You don't have to worry about random encounters on this floor, and you can see that when we talk to these flames, they were impersonating the characters in Midenhall Castle. However, when you talk to this one that looks like a gremlin, that triggers a battle against 2 gold bat boons. You don't get anything special for killing these gold bat boons, so if you'd like to avoid a battle, you don't want to talk to these guys. This is really the only battle that you might have to fight on this floor. However, you can see that we are very powerful now, and should have no problem killing these gold bat boons. We'd just rather not have them cast that sacrifice magic and wipe our whole team out. That would cost us some time. Yeah, I don't think this is Midenhall, fire monster. This is somewhere else. We can use our silver key to get in here, although this flame doesn't have anything very interesting to say. Something that you can also do before you use the Charm of Rubiss is cast the spell of Step Guard. You won't lose the MP because once you use the charm, everything will be restored to the way it was before, but you'll still have the effect of that Step Guard magic, and you can see here that we're not taking any damage from this first set of barriers, but we're going to have to cast Step Guard again because the space where the door was makes us step off of the barrier, so you have to use Step Guard again immediately as soon as you walk off of the barrier to be able to get its effect to continue to work. Over here, there's a treasure chest, but it's empty. There's another one on the right side. It's also empty, so don't waste your time. The way that we need to go is into the center room here. So use your Step Guard, and we're going to open this door. To open this door, we need to use the golden key. You'll use all 3 keys in here. If you take a quick look at the map on the left side, that map is from an old Japanese guidebook, and you can see that in the Japanese version, there was a crucifix here in this room, but it's been changed because they removed it for the North American version of the game. And here we are, on the 2nd floor of Hargon's castle, and there are random monster encounters on this floor. They almost always include green dragons. We're trying to conserve our health and magic so that we can survive against the bosses that we're about to battle, so you're going to want to run away from battles that look like this. 3 green dragons, pretty dangerous. Try to get out of there. Hopefully you'll survive. If you have to run a couple times and some of your characters die, well, you might not make it to the end. Don't be afraid to use a Leaf of the World tree. You do get your 1 leaf, so keep that handy. And make sure that everybody is fully healed up before you move on. You never know when the next battle might strike. We're going to head over here, and this is what I'm talking about. Battles could happen at any time. 1 green dragon, though? We can handle 1 green dragon. Let's fight this guy. In fact, we can even use this as an opportunity to use some Shield of Strengths, because 1 green dragon is not that big of a threat. So we took him out, and we came out of it, I think, with some higher HP on our Princess of Moonbrooke than we had when we went in. Not bad. Up there on floor 3, which we'll be able to reach as soon as we touch the stairs, this is the last floor in the game that has random monster encounters. and there are some very nasty ones that you could run into. The worst are Mace Masters. If you see Mace Masters, I highly recommend that you run away from them. They have some instant death attacks, and pretty much anything they do is bad. They can also revive other monsters that died, and unlike our Leaf of the World tree, whenever they revive a dead monster, it comes back with full HP, sometimes even more than it had before. There are no random monster encounters on this floor, but whenever you get close to the stairway, it's time to fight the first of the 5 bosses, Atlas. Atlas only does physical attacks, and he typically does 2 of them each round. The best way to fight him at these low levels is to just have your hero attack and have your casters parry, and they can use their healing spells or the Shield of Strengths to restore health for whoever gets hit. If they parry, then when Atlas attacks them, they won't instantly die. Other things that you may want to try, you can try using the Sword of Light. Surround isn't the worst thing to do on a boss like this that only uses physical attacks. And you might want to try casting the Increase spell. But to be honest with you, the easiest way to beat this guy is to just make sure that his attacks only do half damage unless they're attacking your hero, in which case you'll need to heal him because he's the only one that can deal significant damage. Up here on the 5th floor, we'll fight the second boss, Pazuzu, and Pazuzu is much easier. We're going to have the Prince of Cannock parry, but we want to have the Princess of Moonbrooke cast Sleep. There's a pretty good chance that Sleep will hit. It has a better than 50% chance. If the boss falls asleep, he's doomed. Bring a full-out attack against this guy. But you need to be very careful. If he's not asleep and he gets down to low HP, he may try to use the Sacrifice spell against you, and Sacrifice will wipe out your entire team. So if he doesn't fall asleep, make sure the Princess of Moonbrooke is casting that sleep spell, and if he is asleep, well, then you can just try to beat him up. I still think that this boss much easier than Atlas. Atlas at these low levels can certainly hit and kill one of your characters in a single round. At level 19, the Princess of Moonbrooke learns Explode It. Explode It is the most powerful offensive magic spell in the game. Not only does it deal a ton of damage, but it hits all the monsters on the screen, regardless of how they're grouped. Take a moment to tend to your wounds, and remember, if you die on any of these bosses, do not reset the game. As long as you don't reset or reload the game, whenever you come back to the castle, any of the bosses that you've already defeated, you won't have to fight a second time. Zarlox is the 3rd of our 5 bosses. He has 0% resistance to the Surround spell, so if we use the Light Sword, we can make him surrounded in illusions, and it will not miss. That'll make him more likely to miss if he attacks us with a physical attack. However, he doesn't do physical attacks all that often, so the more important thing is to have the Princess of Moonbrooke cast the defense magic against this guy, so that our hero can hit him even harder with his 2 attacks. Use the Prince of Cannock as a healer during this battle, and sometimes the boss will cast Heal All. That's pretty annoying, but if we keep lowering his defense with the defense spell, eventually we'll be able to clear this guy in about 2 rounds of combat, and he won't have a chance to heal himself. That time he cast the spell of Increase, so that canceled out one of our defense spells essentially, so we'll want to recast some defense. But mostly that's what you're doing. Keep casting defense magic with the Princess of Moonbrooke, only use her as a healer when you need to, and eventually Zarlox will go down, and there will be only 2 more bosses left. When we get up to the next floor, it's going to be time to finally fight Hargon. We've heard a lot about this Hargon guy, but we've yet to actually see him. Well, here he is. Don't forget to cast Step Guard in here. We don't want to take too much damage from this barrier. And just head right up there. There's no random encounters in this room. Make sure that your health is high. You want to make sure that everybody has their maximum HP if possible, or at least close to it. And when you talk to Hargon, yes or no, it doesn't matter what you say, it will trigger a battle. And there he is. Hargon has some of the smartest enemy AI in the game, so he'll actually choose his attack whenever he gets his turn, and it could be based on the context of the battle. So if he has very low health, he might just use heal all on himself, and that's what he did right there. He's also smart enough to not try to cast spells if you get him with the stop spell magic, and he's actually not completely resistant to stop spell. It has a less than 50% chance of working, but if you do get him with it, he'll mostly just attack and will be very easy to beat. With these lower levels, I recommend focusing on trying to attack him so that he doesn't have a chance to use heal all. Use your Staff of Thunder, use your Sword of Thunder, have your hero attack, have your other characters heal up when possible. And yeah, occasionally you might even get a critical hit, which would probably take out Hargon in a single blow. Once he's defeated, there's one more boss left, and it's by far the most difficult enemy in the game, Malroth. If I was making a list of the most difficult RPG final bosses, Malroth would probably be on there. He makes the Dragon Lord look like Barney. The good news is, if we die on Malroth, and there's a good chance that we could die, we won't have to fight the other bosses again, and we can come back up here and challenge him another time. So we'll be able to try to fight Malroth as many times as we need to. You can certainly get very unlucky against this boss, especially at these levels. So don't feel bad if you die against him, just try a few times and I think you'll have a good chance of beating him. One of the worst things that can happen is that Malroth surprises you, and that's what happened here. He got a free hit on the Prince of Cannock and made him fall asleep. Usually you would have the Prince of Cannock cast the spell of increase in the first round so that your whole team can have slightly higher defense against this guy. But now we need to bring him back up in health so that he doesn't die if he gets hit again. Malroth doesn't have smart AI like Hargon does. He chooses his attacks completely at random. 50% of the time he uses Fire Breath, 25% of the time he'll do a physical attack that can make the recipient of it fall asleep, and 25% of the time he'll cast Heal All, which is extremely obnoxious, bringing his HP all the way back to full. This guy also has max defense like the Metal Babbles do, so only your hero is going to be able to damage him. You'll want to have the Princess of Moonbrooke try to cast the defense spell to lower Malroth's defense whenever possible, and that's going to be a good way to combat the heal more problem. Eventually we'll be able to hit him so hard that he'll die in a couple rounds of combat. So that's how you defeat Malroth at very low levels, but what if you're trying to build the ultimate team? Before we get to the game's ending, let's talk about some other things that we can do to get even more powerful. Once we get to higher levels, the Prince of Cannock will actually be able to deal a decent amount of melee damage, so if we're trying to build the ultimate team, we should travel back to the town of Tuhn and pick up a second Falcon Sword for him. We can use that Hargon's illusion trick so that he'll be able to get plus 20 attack from the Iron Spear, but also be able to get 2 attacks with the Falcon Sword. And that will make it a little bit easier to level up even higher. And you'll see that when the Prince of Cannock reaches level 25, he gets one of the best spells in the game, the spell of Revive. Finally. The princess will never learn the Revive spell, so you'll want to keep a Leaf of the World tree just in case the prince dies. It costs 15 magic points, and it works essentially the same as the leaf. The character will come back with 1 health. Does anyone else think those Bullwong guys look like a sinister version of Figment from the Journey to Imagination at Disney World? Well, in any case, you can get a wizard ring from them, and a wizard ring is a great item to find, so when you're trying to build up, I would recommend carrying at least 1 wizard ring with you. You should be able to spare the inventory slot for it. At level 21, the Princess of Moonbrooke will also get Step Guard, so you will have both casters able to cast that spell for whatever that's worth. If we level up a bit more, we'll be able to get the last few spells in the game. At level 28, the Prince of Cannock will get his last spell, and I hate to say it, but his final spell is hot garbage. It's the Spell of Sacrifice. It only costs 1 MP, and it makes you automatically win the battle, although it works sort of like defeat magic, so you can't use it against bosses or other guys that are completely resistant to defeat magic. The problem with Sacrifice is not only does the prince die when you cast it, but you don't get any experience points or any gold, so you might as well have just run away. At level 23, the Princess of Moonbrooke gets the Spell of Open, and I thought that would be kind of a stupid spell when I first read it, but it actually allows you to throw your keys away, which will give you 3 more inventory slots, and getting 3 more inventory slots is surprisingly good. Once you get up to higher levels, you may also want to pursue the last few premium items that we haven't found yet that can only be obtained by fighting the monsters that drop them. I'm talking about the Mysterious Hat and the Evil Shield. And that's why we're heading back to the cave to Rhone. The monsters that drop the Mysterious Hat can only be found on floors 5 and 6, so we want to go in through the exit. And when we defeated these silver baboons, well, we got the dragon killer that they can possibly drop. That's not a weapon that we need right now, so we're going to just throw it away, but maybe that's a good omen that we might get lucky and actually find something that we need. Make sure that you've thrown away all your keys if you have the open spell already. We're going to need to maximize our inventory space. The last thing we want to do is find the item that we're looking for and have to throw away something good. So here's the spot where I like to look for the magic vampirus enemies. Right here near the exits, so you don't have to go very far. When you go back and forth, you'll be transitioning, so we'll have a high chance of monster encounters. And now that we're at higher level, well, let's get some revenge on those metal babbles. And we're going to get the experience for killing 2 of them, plus that 70% modifier for fighting 8 monsters. Sweet! We didn't really come here looking for metal babbles to fight, but they do exist on this floor, and we might as well try to gain a few levels while we're here. Why not? The monsters that we are looking for, though, are the magic vampirus. If you see magic vampirus, remember you need to kill them last, because they are the monsters that can drop the item we're looking for. So just keep searching here. And these are them. This is the magic vampirus enemies. They're not that hard to kill. And here it is. Now let me tell you that I cut to this, but this took me hours to find. The Mysterious Hat only has a 1 in 125 chance to appear. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's a very good item. Whoever's equipped with it will get a 25% reduction on the cost of their spells in battle. This also allows you to add a helmet to a character that normally wouldn't be able to wear a helmet at all. So yeah, the Mysterious Hat is great, but I don't really recommend trying to find it. It's just too frustrating. Now, down on floors 1 and 2 of the Cave to Rhone, you can fight these Dark Eye enemies, and they have one of the best shields in the game, the Evil Shield. Now, these guys drop that Evil Shield at a rate of 3%, which is much better than the Mysterious Hat, but unfortunately the Evil Shield is not quite as exciting as the Mysterious Hat is. You'll need to use the Hargon's illusion trick or a different cursed item trick to effectively equip the Evil Shield, and I am going to show you that other cursed item trick here in a moment. At level 25, the Princess of Moonbrooke will learn her last spell, and it's typically the last spell that you'll get in the game, the Spell of Chance. It costs a lot of MP to cast at 15, although it does cost less at C for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. When you cast it, an extremely random effect happened. This time, the monsters were confused. I assume that means that they might attack each other, but that didn't happen here. Still, I hadn't seen confusion at any other time in the game, and other effects I've seen with chance are healing your entire party, sacrifice, other spell type effects. It's fun to use, but it's not very practical. If you feel like that Hargon's illusion trick is just cheating too much, there is another way that you can use cursed items. You can equip a bunch of cursed items and then go to a house of healing and have them removed. However, because of the way equipped items work in this game, you'll still get the stat bonuses from those cursed items until your character levels up, until somebody goes into the equip menu, or if you reload the game. So this is another way that you can use cursed items. The problem with it is, whenever you do this, you will lose the cursed items. So you're going to want to save before you equip any cursed items. We've already equipped a bunch here, so we're definitely going to say no to this guy. And don't save after you lose all of them, or you'll have to get them again. The other downside to this trick is that you won't be able to attack 2 times with the Falcon Sword, and you won't get the bonus abilities of the Water Flying Cloth in addition to the defense of the Gremlin's armor. You can still wear the Gremlin's armor and get the stat boost for it, but you're not going to get that bonus from the Water Flying Cloth. And in doing this trick, I noticed that not having that bonus from the Water Flying Cloth makes a huge difference. Because of how often Malroth uses a Flame Breath attack, you're probably just better off using the Water Flying Cloth and not equipping the Gremlin's armor if you're not going to use the Hargon's illusion trick. So you can see our attack power is still high, but we have lost all of those cursed items. And although we won't be able to attack twice in the same round with any of our characters, we should be able to beat Malroth with this set of equipment. Now, if you don't want to use this cursed item trick, you're going to need to level up a few more times to be able to have the stats you need to beat him with the Sword of Thunder. So try to be maybe level 35 or level 36 if you don't want to use the Sword of Destruction. Sadly, the Sword of Destruction does give you more critical hits, but you'd have to actually equip it in the fair way, so you'd have to deal with the curse if you wanted to be able to get that bonus. Although we're using slightly different equipment here, our strategy against Malroth is similar. Have the Prince of Cannock use the increase spell in the first round, have the Princess of Moonbrooke cast defense in the first round, try to do most of your healing with the Prince of Cannock, and have the Princess of Moonbrooke cast defense whenever there's an opening. For instance, if Malroth were to use the Heal All spell on himself, that will probably create a good opening to either heal up your characters that have low health, or hit him with defense. We need to lower this guy's defense so that we can kill him in 2 or 3 rounds of combat. That will avoid him being able to heal himself completely, and we'll be able to finish him off. It's very obnoxious if this guy just keeps using Heal All, but that will also create opportunities for you to keep using defense magic on him, and just lower that defense down to a place where you can work with it. If you want to get even higher levels and try to max out your characters, the best place to level up with high level characters is here on the 3rd floor of Hargon's Castle, because you can run into stuff like this. 5 metal babbles. Yeah, we're gonna get so many experience points for these guys. Another thing is you might get the Dragon's Potion for killing metal babbles. The Dragon's Potion lets you save the game at any time, and it's reusable, which sounds awesome. The problem is it does not create a new return point, so you can't use it like right before the final boss, and then if you get killed by Malroth, well, we'll just reset and we'll be back in his chamber. No, that's not what will happen. The game will save how many experience points and how much money you have, but whenever you come back and reload the game, you're gonna be at the Monolith of Rhone, way far away from the castle. The highest level that the Prince of Midenhall can reach is level 50, the highest level for the Prince of Cannock is level 45, and the highest for the Princess of Moonbrooke is level 35. All 3 of them, though, require 1 million experience points, and as you can see, once you get to about level 40 on the hero, Anything beyond that just makes it way too easy. We can easily crush Malroth with these levels. It'll only take a few rounds of combat, and this guy will go down so quickly. If you want to spend the time and get the other 500,000 experience points to get up to level 50, you can, but it's not going to make it so much easier. And that's it. We've done it. We've beaten Dragon Warrior 2. Now it's time to sit back, relax, and enjoy the cheesy ending. Right away you can see that the castle is gone, and while we can cast the return spell to get back to the Monolith, feel free to walk. The monsters will not attack you anymore. To finish the game, we need to get back to Midenhall Castle and meet with the king there, but all that's going to happen is the credits are going to roll at that point. The true ending here is seeing how peace is returned to the different villages and towns. Each different character design for the townsfolk has a different message for us, so look for characters that have a different appearance. For instance, that man in the blue outfit that we talked to, any other old man in a blue outfit is going to have the same message as him. If we come over here and talk to this soldier, he says that we're great warriors. Any other soldier that looks like him, like the one down there in the inn, he's going to say the same thing, so you don't need to keep talking to everybody to see all the different messages. However, the different kings all have a special message, so to see all the different messages, we will have to visit all of the different kings in the game, and that is something that we're going to do very quickly here. So we can jump into our boat. Remember, no monsters will attack you at this point, so you can sail around freely. And we'll start over here in Tantegel Castle. Remember, this king was hiding up in the room, and he apologizes to us for hiding. If you take a minute to get down to the bottom of Charlock Castle, we can talk to the Dragon Lord's grandson, and he wants to be friends with us. That's cool, I guess. If we head over here to Charlock Castle, we'll get a nice message from Artho's dad. It's nice to see that Artho's father is proud of him. Sadly, the Princess of Moonbrooke's father is a flame, and all the flames say the same thing. This thing about the pure light of Rubiss rising from the sea. So her father doesn't have anything unique to say. If we talk to a dog, they say bow wow wow. And the king of Osterfair says that we are noble and strong. And with that, let's wrap up the game here in the castle of Midenhall. As you approach the king, he will ask us if it's time to take the throne. If you tell him no, well, say that you're being selfish and you will have to choose yes. And with that, it's time to all hail the new monarch of Midenhall. We also get recognition for the Prince of Charlock and the Princess of Moonbrooke. 3 cheers for the new monarch of Midenhall, and then peace returned. Roll the credits. And that's the end of Dragon Warrior 2. We'll be able to see all of the people that worked on the original version, as well as the localization staff that made the English version in these credits. Some reflections on this game. I think that Dragon Warrior 2 is a very underrated entry in the Dragon Warrior catalog. This game is pretty good. Yeah, it is challenging, but that actually makes it a lot more interesting. A lot of RPGs can be won by just mindlessly mashing the fight button, and you will not be able to do that in Dragon Warrior 2. Even when you get up to higher levels, you still have to think a little bit about your strategy in battle, and I think that makes this a better game, not a worse one. There may have been a few places where the developers took it a bit too far. The final boss, very challenging. The cave to Rhone with all those pit traps would be super tough to get through without a map. But something that you should realize about this game is that although it came out in the pre-internet era, or at least at the dawn of the internet, before all the information was just out there in a way that was easy to find, if you bought this game new, It came with an instruction manual that told you everything you needed to do, has a lot of good tips in it, not a bunch of strategy type information to help you fight the monsters, but some good information about where to go and what types of things you need to do to complete the game. It also came with a large map that showed the entire world, and on that map there was a breakdown of all the different weapons, items, armor, everything you can find in the game, the different spells. It showed all of the different enemies with their hit points and their experience points. So there was a lot of good information that was available to people that purchased the game new. If you bought it secondhand or you rented the game, well, good luck in that case, but they did give you the tools that you needed to be able to finish this one. Well, I hope this video was able to help you finally beat Dragon Warrior 2 and fulfill the destiny of the descendants of Erdrick. If it did, make sure to give it a like, and make sure to subscribe for more videos, because there will always be more fantasy worlds terrorized by evil wizards, and that's why we'll be back again next week with another video game you can beat. Thanks for watching.